Chapter 1688. After killing the guards, the Fecta Domain Lord took the lead and rushed forward. At the same time, the Fecta Domain Lord kept using the Fecta Divine Fan to deduce something. The Fecta Divine Fan can't be deduced all the time. The more it is deduced, the more damage it will cause. The reason why the Fecta Divine Fan had been damaged so badly was largely because it had been constantly deducing, causing it to break down so quickly. Ding! Successfully accepted the special quest, Save the Heaven Creator Clan. Reward, 5,000 crazy points, 50 Heaven Creator Clan's favorability, and 50 other Domain Lords' favorability. A special quest popped up, and Tianyun accepted it without hesitation. It's a good quest, and he won't miss it. After rushing all the way in, there were no guards inside. But what they faced was a huge door, which was not unexpected. The guards were only the real gatekeepers, and they didn't even have the qualification to enter. Most of the time, they were just here to guard, and when there is an intruder, they will immediately send a message. It seems that we have to go in, but we still have to destroy this door. But once this door is destroyed, the evil emperor will know immediately. The Fecta Domain Lord looked up and down at the door. This door is not the work of the Heaven Creator Clan, but the work of the evil emperor himself. Its grade is not low, it is at the level of a 7th or 8th grade divine carving master. It's not surprising that the evil emperor knows this stuff. It's not surprising that some experts have other abilities. Especially since the evil spirit race often devours the abilities of others, it's not particularly surprising that they can cultivate to become a high-grade divine carving master. Fecta Domain Lord, can you break this door? Sword Edge Domain Lord asked. It's not a big problem, I can break it with a little effort. But after breaking it, time will be tight. After all, the evil emperor and the others will come here in no time. At that time, there is only one escape route, and it is very likely that we will fall into a bitter battle. The Fecta Domain Lord looked at them, wanting to hear their opinion. Once they start, they may fall into a bitter battle. As for whether it will be life-threatening or not, that's another matter. They want to gather more experts, but if they come, they basically don't have any God Realm experts, and if something happens, their God Realm will fall. It's meaningless to send too few people, but sending too many people is afraid of problems. Especially since this place was not simple, it was easy for problems to arise. The key was to end the battle as soon as possible. If he could avoid fighting against Evil Emperor, he would do his best to avoid it. They might even be able to escape quickly. Since we're already here, if we don't give it a try, we'll have come for nothing. Who knows, the Heaven Creators inside might be able to help us after we break in. When that time comes, killing our way out shouldn't be a problem, the Sword Edge Region Master said after some thought. That's right, if a part of the Heaven Creator tribe could move, they would really be of help. Region Lord Yuelong agreed. The Heaven Creators were imprisoned inside, so the evil emperor couldn't possibly torture them, right? No matter what, these were all very precious, and they couldn't be messed around. Following that, they shifted their gazes to Tianyun. Tianyun had been standing at the side without saying a word. No one knew what he was thinking. Region Lord Tianyun, what do you think? Region Lord Yuelong turned around and asked. Not much, I can only say that no matter what, we have to save the Heaven Creators. After all, if the Heaven Creators are used by them, once the crystal barrier is completely controlled, we'll probably be finished, Tianyun said in a low voice. Therefore we can only fight. There's no other choice. You're right, there's no other choice. There might be danger, but if they didn't save the Heaven Creators, it wouldn't be danger, but destruction. Following that, the Fecta Domain Lord immediately started checking to see how they could break the door. After looking around, he quickly locked onto the formation eye above and started breaking it. As soon as he started breaking it, the door began to emit a dazzling light that spread in all directions. Damn it, if we break the door even a little, the news will start to spread. We have to end this quickly. The Fecta Domain Lord cursed angrily, and his hands began to move faster. He thought that the evil emperor would only know after breaking the door, but it seemed like he would know soon. The moment the door was broken, the news was sent out. It could be seen that the evil emperor had raised the situation here to the highest level. Once something happened, he would be notified immediately. It's a pity that we don't know anything about the divine seal, and its grade is too low. Yuelong and the others wanted to help, but they didn't know anything about it. The Sword Edge Domain Lord's main focus was on sword practice, and he didn't care about anything else. He was either focused on alchemy or cultivation, but he didn't care about anything else. "Let me do it, I know a little about this," Lee Tianyun said as he stood up. He didn't expect to help. He thought that the Fecta Domain Lord would be enough, but he still needed his help. "Heavenly Cloud Domain Lord, you know about this? If the grade is too low, then there's no way to break it. Only a 7th or 8th grade Divine Inscription Master can break it." Cloud-piercing Region Master reminded him, but he quickly shut his mouth and looked at them with shock in his eyes. Lee Tianyun and the Fecta Domain Lord seemed to be competing to see who was faster, and they frantically broke the formation eye. After a brief comparison, they found that Lee Tianyun's breaking speed was even faster than the Fecta Domain Lord's. When the Fecta Domain Lord saw this, he was shocked, but he wasn't too surprised. In his opinion, it was normal for Lee Tianyun to be a high-level Divine Inscription Master since he could make such an amazing puppet. With the two of them quickly breaking through the door, the time it took for them to break through the door was very short. It was mainly thanks to Lee Tianyun's help that they were able to break it so quickly. At the same time, the Evil Emperor received a message. The Evil Emperor, who was in the closed-door meditation room, suddenly opened his eyes, and there was a bit of coldness in them. "Finally, I was discovered. But it's good that I want to see what kind of fat sheep dares to break into my territory." The corners of his mouth curled into a cold smile as he slowly stood up. He was not the least bit anxious. He didn't curse, but turned around and said to the guards outside, "Summon an evil god army for me." "Yes, Evil Emperor." The guards immediately went to summon the evil god army. The evil god army was actually the powerful evil spirit clan, and it was a well-trained evil god army. Chapter 1689. After Lee Tianyun and the others broke the door, they rushed in together and saw an even thicker door. They didn't expect to see another door after entering. "Continue to break." The Fecta Domain Lord rushed forward, and so did Lee Tianyun. They continued to break the door. Their speed also soared, and they broke through the door in a frenzy. Soon, the door was broken again, and with a rumbling sound, it opened slowly. However, the Fecta Domain Lord slapped the door impatiently. Boom! The door was slammed open. Immediately, another disgusting door appeared in front of them. It was not much different from the door outside, but the location of the formation eye was naturally different. "There's more?" The Sword Edge Domain Lord and the others were stunned. How could there be so many doors? Usually 2 doors were a lot, but there were 3 this time, which was undoubtedly too many. However, this time, the Fecta Domain Lord and Lee Tianyun didn't break through the door immediately. Instead, they stopped. "Why did you stop? Are you feeling a little tired?" The cloud-piercing Domain Lord walked over and asked in confusion. Tianyun and the Fecta Domain Lord looked at each other. Then, the Fecta Domain Lord looked at him and said, "Why don't you tell us what you think? I suspect that there's a trap here. Perhaps the Evil Emperor already knew that someone would come in, so he purposely designed so many doors. He wants us to keep breaking through the door, and when they arrive, we will be trapped here," Lee Tianyun explained to them. "Does this mean that the Heaven Creators aren't inside?" The cloud-piercing Domain Lord frowned. If they kept breaking through the door without seeing the Heaven Creators, wouldn't that be a trap? "No, the Heaven Creators are definitely inside. I believe that the Fecta Domain Lord has already sensed the Heaven Creators. The Evil Emperor purposely did this to let us sense the Heaven Creators. Then he forcefully broke through the door, thinking that we can break through everything before they arrive and rescue the Heaven Creators. But they don't know that we've fallen into Evil Emperor's trap. He wants us to continue fighting, and in the end, we won't be able to find Heaven Creators. Instead, we'll be trapped here. I think the Evil Emperor wants to capture more members of the Heaven Creator race, or some invaders like us." Lee Tianyun listed them one by one and guessed Evil Emperor's thoughts. Their expressions changed. Now that he said it, it was possible. He had probably leaked out a bit of his aura for them to sense. It was just like a house where the naked eye could see through the window that there was money inside. Who would have thought that when one broke through the door after another, they would find that there were all kinds of iron cages locked inside. They could see but not touch. This was tantamount to luring them over so that they would fall into his own trap. Either he left, or he charged in even though he knew it was a trap. That's right. What I want to say is exactly what the Heavenly Cloud Domain Lord wants to say. According to the designs of us divine engraving masters, we certainly wouldn't design so many doors. Not only would this increase consumption, but it would also be a waste of resources. It would be better to arrange for a few more guards. There is only one possibility for such a design, and that is to intercept us on purpose to stall for time. It can even be said that when we break through to the back, another door might fall in front of us to block our way out. The Fecta Domain Lord turned to look at the wall behind him. He couldn't see it now. If he could, it wouldn't be a trap. However, he guessed that it might be a similar trap. With the evil emperor's sinister thoughts, there would definitely be a similar trap. It seems that we are in a dilemma. If we leave, we will have come here for nothing. If we don't leave, the Heaven Creator race will be trapped here. We can see them, but we can't rescue them. The Jianfeng Domain Lord smiled bitterly. This was a very troublesome matter. Then, should we leave now or continue? They looked at each other. Only God knew if there would be another door behind this door after breaking through this one. This would give the invaders a feeling that they might be able to break through the door and find the Heaven Creator race next time. Of course we continue. Yi Tianyun's gaze was cold. The evil emperor thinks that he has a card up his sleeve and can intercept all the invaders. Naturally, we can't let him do as he wishes. Especially if we leave now, there will probably be another trap outside. I think the evil emperor won't let the invaders leave so easily. We have to continue breaking through the door. We have already come this far, so we can only continue. Let's compete and see if we can break through the door faster or if they can rush over faster. The Fecta Domain Lord was indeed unhappy. After knowing that there was such a trap, he still wanted to continue breaking through it. This was his stubbornness. He didn't want the evil emperor to succeed. Then what are we waiting for? Let's break through it together. Yi Tianyun laughed loudly. But I have to make some preparations. I will let the evil emperor know that some schemes are meaningless in the face of absolute power. Then he closed his eyes. No one knew what he was doing. The Fecta Domain Lord and the others looked at each other. They didn't know what Yi Tianyun wanted to do, but listening to Yi Tianyun's tone, it seemed like he had some special plan. But they chose to believe in Yi Tianyun and waited. Cloud-piercing Domain Lord didn't know what Yi Tianyun wanted to do, but after thinking about it, he decided to stay on the side. He wanted to see what kind of tricks Yi Tianyun could come up with. Level up. Ding! Successfully leveled up to Divine Carving Master, level 8. After deducting a lot of crazy points, the Divine Carving Master successfully leveled up to level 8, only one step away from level 9. Once it reached the 9th grade, it would be the maximum level. At that time, he would be the #1 divine inscriber in this world. As for whether there are other divine carving masters at level 9, maybe there are, but at least they are on the same level as them. After leveling up, Yi Tianyun's soul strength improved a lot. He actually reached lower heavenly god level in one go. This kind of qualitative leap was expected. Previously, when he leveled up to divine carving master, there were similar changes, so it was not surprising to see such a change this time. Okay, let's start now. Yi Tianyun stood up and walked toward the door. Fecta Domain Lord, I just used a secret technique. A secret technique that can speed up the process. Since it consumes a lot of energy, it won't last long. But let me solve it, it will be faster. Okay, Heavenly Cloud Domain Lord will decide. Fecta Domain Lord didn't say any nonsense. He also wanted to see what Yi Tianyun could do to quickly solve the special situation here. Chapter 1690. After Yi Tianyun was ready, he directly rushed to the front of the gate, and the speed of his hands suddenly increased by 100 times. Xiao! In the blink of an eye, several formation cores were destroyed. This speed was 100 times faster than before. It was so fast that the Fecta Domain Lord was dumbfounded. He knew how difficult it was to break this formation, but in front of Tianyun, it was as easy as pulling a carrot. Too fast. They were all stunned. Although Cloud-Piercing Domain Lord and the others didn't practice divine carving arts, they had seen it before. Moreover, they could easily master low-grade divine seals. When their cultivation reached a certain level, it would be very fast to practice other things. As for the grade, it was certainly not too high. The higher the grade, the harder it was to practice. This was the inevitable result. They didn't have that much energy to spend, so they could only practice to a relatively low level. For example, 3rd or 4th level was still very easy. As for higher level, they couldn't do anything unless they invested more energy. Therefore, although their grade was not that high, they all knew how difficult it was. The speed of breaking the formation was so fast that it stunned them. They had never seen anything like this before. This speed is so much faster than before. What kind of secret technique can increase the speed? The Fecta Domain Lord's eyes flashed, and his interest in Tianyun grew. Correspondingly, they were also worried about Tianyun's consumption. With such a fast speed, it must be very exhausting to break it, right? The answer was yes, but it only consumed crazy points. Tianyun himself didn't consume any crazy points, but breaking the divine seals gave him a lot of experience and proficiency. Soon, in less than a moment, the gate was completely broken. It took less than 1/10 of the time before, and it was easily broken. After the gate was broken, it was immediately slapped open by Tianyun. What came into view was yet another large door. Sure enough, it was a trap. After breaking one layer, there was another layer. Tianyun didn't complain, this was all expected. He continued to rush up and continued to break at an extremely fast speed. Soon, the gate was broken again, and the Fecta Domain Lord and the others were stunned. Although they had seen it before, they still couldn't get enough of it. They were still shocked. Tianyun's speed was really shocking. In their opinion, there was no one in the entire divine realm who could break the barrier faster than Tianyun, unless his cultivation was very strong, reaching the God Emperor level. But it was not broken, but smashed with a slap. The gate opened, and then another gate. Tianyun continued to break the door, and after breaking 2 doors in a row, there was no more door in front of him. The first thing that came into view were many cells, and many heaven creators were locked up in them. These heaven creators were fixed on the wall, unable to move. However, from the looks of it, the situation was still all right. At the very least, he wasn't abused too badly. After the door was broken open, they all turned their heads to look. When they thought that it was the evil emperor, they realized that the one who rushed in was not the evil spirit race. When the Fecta Domain Lord entered, he looked around with a gloomy expression. Although they weren't abused, their conditions weren't much better. All kinds of essence blood had been extracted, and they were all stuck at a very reasonable point. Thus, their conditions weren't too bad. This meant that they had turned into livestock and were kept here, unable to move. Once he recovered a little, some of his blood essence would be extracted. This was similar to the evil spirit race that Tianyun had encountered before. As long as it was rare and useful, they would use this method to control it. He fattened them bit by bit and then drained them of their blood essence bit by bit. The divine seals on the cells here are still very difficult to break. The Fecta Domain Lord also discovered that the divine seals on the cells here were not easy to break. The Fecta Domain Lord also discovered that the divine seals on the cells here were not easy to break. It was no wonder why the evil emperor was so at ease. He did not know how long he would have to spend to clear all of them. Unfortunately, his worry was misplaced. Tianyun didn't say anything. He pounced forward and continued to destroy it. The seemingly sturdy divine seals were instantly destroyed. The Fecta Domain Lord and the others followed and started to rescue the heaven creators inside. However, the chains that locked the heaven creators were also suppressed by the divine seals and needed to be broken. This was up to the Fecta Domain Lord to break it, or the Sword Edge Domain Lord and the others to use external force to break it. After all, the surface area of these chains wasn't that big. They were similar to defensive equipment, and could be broken with a little more force. Compared to the thick and heavy doors, it was much easier. After all, there were more divine seals carved on the doors, and it was more difficult to break them. Yi Tianyun's current priority was to open the doors. He would first destroy all the doors before rescuing the people. This would also give the cloud-piercing domain lord and the others something to do. At least they wouldn't be waiting dumbly at the side. There were roughly 10 rooms in the entire cell, and each room held about 10 people. In total, there were more than 100 heaven creators. This wasn't a large number. Perhaps some of them had already been killed, which was why there were so few of them. However, there weren't many heaven creators to begin with. The more heaven-defying a race was, the rarer their numbers were. Very quickly, Tianyun destroyed all the chains and started to rescue the heaven creators. His hand tapped on the metal chain twice. It looked like he was tapping twice, but in fact he had already tapped it hundreds of times. The divine seals on it were immediately destroyed. Ding! The metal chain fell, and the heaven creators who were fastened to it went limp and sat on the ground. Recover a little and prepare to escape together, Yi Tianyun said before continuing to destroy the chains for the others. It was easy to bring them out. All he had to do was keep them in the living space. It wasn't difficult. Thank you. The heaven creators didn't know what to say. They were extremely grateful to Yi Tianyun, and that was all they could say. With Yi Tianyun's help, more than half of the heaven creators were rescued. The remaining few were destroyed by the cloud-piercing domain lord and the others. It had to be said that Yi Tianyun's speed was really too fast. The other 4 were no match for Yi Tianyun alone. Everyone is rescued. We can escape now. Yi Tianyun took a deep breath. It had to be said that he had expended a lot of energy, especially in terms of his spiritual power. Fortunately, his spiritual power had broken through to the lower celestial god level. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to hold on for so long. Chapter 1691. It had to be said that this was a very awkward situation. Yi Tianyun and the others had contributed the most. On the other hand, the Cloudpiercer Domain Lord and the others were just standing there foolishly. They had only helped out a little. However, they had only helped a little. Most of the traps were destroyed by Yi Tianyun and the Fecta Domain Lord. They could only solve a small part of the traps. Thank you, thank you. The sky creators were trembling. Their eyes were filled with hope and excitement. They would thank the heavens if they could escape from this place. They were even more grateful to the people in front of them. However, they were more grateful to Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun had personally rescued them. We can talk about this after we get out. Hide in this living space now. Let's escape together. Yi Tianyun gestured for them to hide in the Fecta Domain Lord space. The Fecta Domain Lord's cultivation level was not the highest. However, his overall abilities were definitely the strongest. His dispelling speed was shocking. However, in terms of combat power, he was really not on par. Any Domain Lord here was much more powerful than him. Even the Fecta Domain Lord was the same. His cultivation level did not seem very high. But who knew what kind of strange treasures he would throw out? In other words, he could smash someone to death with treasures. The sky creators did not think too much. As long as it was not the evil spirit race, they would think that it was a good person. Especially when they sensed a familiar aura from the Fecta Domain Lord. It was undoubtedly the aura of their clansmen. They immediately entered the Fecta Domain Lord's special space. However, they had only entered a part of the space when one of them warned, "The evil emperor has set up many traps here. He has also used our abilities to strengthen this place. When you escape, there will be even stronger defenses. You have to be careful." "We have already guessed that." "No problem," said Yi Tianyun. "Then we will leave it to you. We can't help much now. We can only say that we will reward you handsomely after we escape." They nodded and surged into the Fecta Domain Lord's special space. After all of them had entered, they immediately fled outside. The sky creators were no longer here. All that was left were empty prison cells. As for treasures, it was even more impossible to find them here. However, in terms of treasures, the sky creator race was indeed a treasure. Every single member of the Sky Creator race was extremely precious. Sure enough, as soon as they turned back, the gates immediately began to be sealed. Large doors descended from high above, blocking their path at an extremely fast speed. There were a total of 7 doors. The divine seals on each gate were different, and it would take time to break them. But Tianyun took the lead and rushed forward, and began to quickly destroy it. His speed was as shocking as ever. Soon, a door was destroyed. This simply couldn't stop him. He was also an 8th grade divine inscription master. Unless he encountered a 9th grade divine seal, he would be able to break through it at an astonishing speed. Heavenly Cloud Territorial Lord, can you still hold on? Don't force yourself. The Fecta Domain Lord and the others began to worry. Tianyun had been fighting for such a long time. Perhaps he had used up a lot of energy and was just holding on. I can still hold on, no problem. Tianyun continued to break through the doors. Even if he couldn't hold on, he had to. He didn't want to be trapped here, and he didn't want to encounter the evil emperor leading a group of experts to kill him. At that time, even if they forced their way out, they would suffer heavy losses. Since Tianyun had said so, they couldn't say anything more. They could only wait on the side. They prayed in their hearts that Tianyun could really hold on. As long as he could escape, everything would be over. Tianyun rushed madly all the way. Soon, the doors were destroyed one after another. Even if they were reinforced, they were destroyed at an astonishing speed with his super speed of 128 times. In less than the time for an incense stick to burn, all 7 doors were destroyed. When the last door was destroyed, he quickly pushed it open. The Fecta Domain Lord and the others' hearts were stuck in their throats. When they saw the light outside, they were overjoyed. Judging from this speed, they could probably escape. We're out. Let's go. After Tianyun left, he didn't look happy at all. To him, it wasn't over until he had completely escaped from this place. They flew out one after another. However, they didn't fly far before Tianyun immediately stopped. He was enveloped in a thick shield that flashed with lightning. There was also a layer of rubble outside. It seemed like they had activated a thick shield and rubble when they came out. This was to prevent the invaders from turning around and escaping when they gave up on the invasion. This is the Sky Creator clan's method. They fuse the power of lightning and rubble to form an extremely strong shield. If we charge out recklessly, we'll have to expend a lot of energy. We might even get injured. If we break through it, we'll need a long time. The evil emperor is the evil emperor. He's already calculated everything. It's basically flawless. When the Fecta Domain Lord saw the shield, his expression changed. He immediately knew what was going on. Although he had expected this, he had to admit that the evil emperor's preparations were too thorough. He really wanted the invaders to not be able to return. Even if they succeeded in invading, there would be layers of protection when they came out. It was practically a defense hell. Correspondingly, this place consumed a lot of resources. Setting up such things required a lot of resources. Ordinary forces wouldn't play it this way. However, the evil emperor liked to play it this way. He felt like he was catching a turtle in a jar and slowly toyed with the invaders. It's fine. We just have to continue breaking. As long as it's a divine seal, there's nothing we can't break. We just need a little more time. Tianyun swept his gaze across and immediately searched for a flaw. Although it was created by the Sky Creator clan, it was still fused with the divine seal. As long as they found the right direction, there was nothing they couldn't break. That's true. However, after fusing with the Sky Creator clan's technique, the difficulty of finding the flaw has increased greatly. The Fecta Domain Lord swept his gaze across. However, I'll help you. My breaking speed isn't that fast, but I can still help you find the flaw. You don't have to break the entire shield. You only need to break a small part of it. With our strength, we can break a small crack and force our way out. When that time comes, even if it's slightly affected, we can still easily break out, the Fecta Domain Lord suggested. Their cultivation base wasn't just for show. Even if they forced their way out, they could just about force their way out. However, the damage they would suffer was greater, and the risk was also higher. This was especially so because they were slower. Chapter 1692. No problem. Let's find a flaw and break out of it. Tianyun looked around and quickly activated his heavenly eye, searching for the flaw with the Fecta domain lord. Time was of the essence. They didn't know when the evil emperor would arrive, so it was best to break the barrier as soon as possible. With the two of them working together, they quickly found the flaw. At this time, Tianyun also took the lead and rushed forward to break the barrier. However, the speed at which he broke the barrier wasn't ideal, mainly because the barrier was surrounded by many other forces. If he got a little closer, he would suffer all sorts of attacks, causing him to suffer all sorts of injuries and affecting his breaking speed. Fortunately, the Sword Edge Region Master and the others quickly surrounded him and stood in front of him, easily blocking all kinds of attacks. If they couldn't even do this, then they might as well just kill themselves. Under the protection of the many domain lords, Tianyun broke the barrier very smoothly. Although he wasn't particularly fast, it was much faster than before when he was interfered with. Of course, it was still much faster than when the Fecta domain lord broke the barrier. As the barrier's energy was fluctuating, the formation's eye was also fluid, so it was a little difficult to find it. As long as he found it, he could break it immediately. If it was similar to the fixed formation from before, it would be easy to break it. This isn't easy at all. With the Sky Creator Clan's techniques, the difficulty has increased exponentially. Tianyun finally witnessed the Sky Creator Clan's power. They were adept at transformation. Whether it was offense or defense, they would constantly change. This way, it wouldn't be easy to break through. For example, the difficulty of breaking the barrier was greatly increased. If there weren't other domain lords to help, Tianyun would have to spend a lot more time to break it. It's about time. Tianyun's eyes lit up. Just a little bit more and he would be able to break a crack. Then he would be able to escape with everyone. The others were delighted. As long as they could break out, they would win. They would be able to escape successfully and wouldn't have to face the evil emperor. Finally, under Tianyun's technique, a small crack appeared on the shield. However, the crack was so small that it looked like it didn't exist at all. It was similar to a crack in a crystal barrier. It had just been penetrated, but it had already begun to repair itself. Let's go. You guys go out first. I'll intercept them from behind. Tianyun gestured for them to rush out first. Once he loosened his grip, it would immediately close up. At that time, let alone him, even the others wouldn't be able to get out. The Fecta domain lord and the others wasted no time and immediately led the charge. They could tell what was going on. If this dragged on, it would drag Tianyun down. They formed a circle and rushed out. The Fecta domain lord shouted, "After we get out, we will build a passage for you and protect you." Tianyun nodded, indicating that he understood. Very soon, the Fecta domain lord and the others rushed out. As soon as they did, they were immediately hit by all kinds of attacks. Because they had been weakened, they were much less powerful. Overall, they were still able to get out easily. As they rushed out one after another, the evil emperor happened to rush over. When he saw them coming out one by one, his expression changed. What's going on? They actually came out. How did they do it? The evil emperor's expression was ugly. He was confident that he could stop the invaders, but he didn't expect them to come out so quickly. When he saw them coming out, he saw that they were all familiar faces. They were actually on the blacklist. Very soon, 4 blacklisted existences appeared in front of him. However, when he took a closer look, he realized that there was another person inside the shield. It was Tianyun. All 5 blacklisted existences were in front of him. Not a single one was left out. In particular, Tianyun, whom he hated to the bone, was still holding on inside the shield. Damn it, don't even think of escaping. The evil emperor quickly formed hand seals. Very soon, the shield that had been opened up was rapidly mended. In the blink of an eye, the shield that had been opened up was mended up. With the interference of external forces, the effect was completely different. If the Sky Creators had been maintaining the shield from the side, the effect would have been even more different. Otherwise, the evil emperor wouldn't have been so crazy as to capture all the sky creators. First, he had captured them. Even if he couldn't control them, he could force them to break open the crystal shield. At least it wouldn't be constantly mended. Yi Tianyun's expression changed. He had wanted to go out, but now the exit was sealed, and it was even more secure than before. When he looked outside, he realized that the evil emperor had appeared in the distance. He knew why this was happening. He didn't expect that something like this would happen in the end. The evil emperor is here. The Fekta Protectorate ruler and the others had ugly expressions. They were also prepared to help Yi Tianyun break open the passageway so that they could pull him out. Now, forget about pulling him out, they had to break it open again. That would take even more time. Especially with the evil emperor interfering and constantly strengthening the shield. How could they break it open so easily? This basically meant that Yi Tianyun was trapped inside and couldn't come out. Go now. Yi Tianyun's voice could barely be heard, and he signaled them to leave and leave him alone. Tianyun Protectorate ruler. They gritted their teeth and finally turned around and fled in another direction. It wasn't because they were heartless, but it was meaningless for them to stay here. They couldn't break open the barrier easily. Rather than staying here, it was better to escape and settle down the heaven-creating clan first. After all, the evil emperor didn't come alone. There were 2 teams of evil deity army here. One team had 15 evil deity army members, and the other 2 teams had 30 evil deity army members. It meant that there were 30 heavenly deity evil spirit clan members, and the evil emperor personally led them here. Even the 5 protectorate rulers didn't dare to fight them head-on because it would only increase the death rate. The reason why they didn't dare to send all their forces here was that this was their battlefield, which was supported by all kinds of arrays. If they sent all their forces here, they would only suffer heavy casualties. If the evil emperor brought experts to attack their forces, it would be difficult for them to resist, but at least they wouldn't be in such a disadvantageous position like here. Damn it! The Tianyun Protectorate ruler has been caught. We have no choice but to leave first. Otherwise, even we can't leave. That's right. Let's go first. We'll move the sky creators out of here first, and then we'll come back and fight them to the death. They were not afraid of death. After all, if they were to fight them head-on and all of them died here, the Heaven Creator race would have been saved for nothing. They would still be captured in the end. Chapter 1693. When the evil king saw them escaping, he immediately shouted, "Hurry up and chase after them, don't let them escape." Yes, evil king. The 2 evil god armies quickly joined forces and turned into 2 huge evil spirits, chasing after them. After exploding out, their speed reached the limit in one go, and they rapidly closed the distance between them. When Yi Tianyun, who was inside the shield, saw the situation outside, his expression quickly turned solemn. He did not expect that he had killed so many evil spirit race powerhouses, who knew that there were still so many of them. A bunch of evil god armies, just these 2 evil god armies alone could probably wipe out many forces, right? However, the evil king and the others did not do so, or rather, they did not do so for the time being. As for why they were not in a hurry to escape, perhaps they had their own considerations. No matter what, from this, it could be seen that the strength of the evil spirit race was a little beyond their imagination. Perhaps many evil spirit race members had already come over from the crystal barrier, so there was a group of very powerful beings. Let's go! The Fekta Domain Master waved the Fekta Divine Fan in his hand, and at the same time, a transparent spirit ship appeared in front of him. He pulled the other Domain Masters into it, and then burst out with the fastest speed possible, disappearing on the spot with a whoosh. The terrifying speed was so fast that even the fused evil spirits could not catch up. In particular, as they flew for a long time, their speed gradually increased, and they broke through this area, disappearing into the pitch-black deep space. To be honest, this is really not my style. The Sword-Edge Domain Master's expression was ugly on the transparent spirit ship. He felt really bad about leaving Yi Tianyun behind like this. Is this also our style? The Fekta Domain Master's expression was also ugly. They thought that everything was going smoothly, who knew that they would still be intercepted by the evil king. Tianyun was trapped in the shield. Under the control of the evil king, the shield's power was more than doubled. In this way, even if they helped, they would not be able to break it immediately. Facing the two evil god armies, they immediately had an idea: they could only leave first. They would first save the Sky Creator race, then they would call for reinforcements. This was the best solution. This meant that their plan could be considered as half a failure. Originally, the few of them came here with the intention of sneaking in quietly so that it would be easier to escape. Who knew that one person would be left behind? But for most situations, this was indeed an extremely worthwhile price to pay. Sacrificing one person to save so many people was naturally more worthwhile. Sometimes, if you can't get a perfect ending, you can only choose a less perfect ending. It doesn't matter. I think we should focus on escaping. If we can't escape, then all our efforts will be in vain, and we will be letting down the heavenly cloud Region Lord's good intentions. Region Lord Yuelong and the others looked gloomy as they felt a powerful force chasing after them. Without a doubt, it was the evil god army. They were chasing after them. The two evil god armies increased their speed to the extreme and caught up with them. If this continued, they would definitely catch up with them. Yes, let's escape first, the Fecta domain ruler said coldly. They were ready to fight at any time. If they didn't repel the two evil god armies, they wouldn't be able to escape. The two evil god armies, which had transformed into evil spirits, were so fast that even a spirit ship could easily catch up with them. This was enough to show how terrifying their strength was. While they were preparing to fight, Tianyun began to think about how to sneak out. The crack in the shield had been mended. They could only open it again, or they could break through it by force. There was no other way. As for instant transmission, it was useless in this place. The Heaven Creator clan's things were very strange, and the seal was so strong that he couldn't pass through. Sound could pass through, but his spiritual sense couldn't. It was completely blocked by the surrounding energy, so he couldn't use the teleportation god stone or instant transmission. If it was useful, he wouldn't have come here to break the shield. He would have left with them. I didn't expect that we would meet again. The evil emperor didn't chase after them personally. Instead, he came to the front of the shield and looked at Tianyun coldly. Before, he had been insulted by Tianyun, but he couldn't fight back. Now it was different. Being trapped inside was like catching a turtle in a jar. He could do whatever he wanted. Yes, I didn't expect that we would meet again so soon. Tianyun smiled and said, I don't feel comfortable here. Can I go out and have a chat with you? Let's have a cup of tea or something. Do you think I'm stupid? Since you want to save the Heaven Creator clan, how about staying inside? Wouldn't it be more comfortable to be locked up with them? The evil emperor sneered. Tianyun was stunned. It seemed like the evil emperor didn't know that the Heaven Creator clan had been rescued and not a single one was left. It seemed like the evil emperor could only sense that the gate had been broken, but he didn't know what was going on inside. But thinking about it, this was indeed the case. Unless they set up a similar array, they wouldn't know. If they did, it would be more troublesome. The main reason was that they trusted these defenses. The evil emperor naturally wouldn't set them up. Hence, he made a huge mistake. He thought that they had returned empty-handed, so he stayed here and didn't chase after them. After Tianyun understood, he smiled. That's right. Then lock me up together with the Heaven Creator clan. Tianyun turned and flew inside, ignoring the evil emperor. The evil emperor watched him fly inside and sneered. Don't worry. After they're captured, I'll lock you up together with them. Is that so? I'm looking forward to it. Before Tianyun entered, he turned and smiled at the evil emperor before disappearing inside. He was intentionally misleading the evil emperor into thinking that the Heaven Creator clan was still trapped inside. This way, he wouldn't chase after them immediately. The two batches of the evil deity army were troublesome enough. If the evil emperor was included, it would be even more troublesome. Don't worry, you'll be looking forward to it. The evil emperor turned and was about to fly away to check on the situation when Tianyun suddenly popped his head out. Evil emperor, you big idiot. Come in and catch me if you can. Tianyun shouted. The evil emperor, who was about to check on the situation, paused. He turned to look at Lee Dong-yun and said coldly, "Do you think you can escape after I've strengthened this barrier? I'll settle the score with you after I catch them." Chapter 1694. If you have the guts, don't leave. Come and fight with me. Lee Tianyun flew out. He didn't want evil emperor to leave. If he chased after the evil god army, he was afraid that something bad would happen. "Humph, with your cultivation, I can kill you in a minute." Evil emperor said disdainfully, "When you left the god territory, you were just a piece of trash." Then he flew up and chased after them. He didn't want to stay here any longer. In his opinion, it was impossible for Lee Tianyun to escape. So, he had to chase after those who were running away. "It seems that I have to break the shield to attract his attention." Lee Tianyun frowned. He moved his attention back to the barrier and then began to break it. The result was the same as before. During the process of breaking, many stones and lightning bolts came at him, constantly interfering with his breaking of the formation. Full strength. Lee Tianyun's eyes flashed. He used all his strength. When stones came at him, he kicked them to pieces. When lightning bolts came, he used his strong body to resist them. His hands kept pointing at the void, breaking the shield at a very fast speed. If the evil emperor didn't come back, he would really be able to break out of this place. Then he would be able to escape. On the other hand, he wanted evil emperor to stay. After all, the Fekta region master and the others hadn't gone far. Although he knew that the Fekta region master had all kinds of treasures, evil emperor wasn't someone to be trifled with. He must have a lot of treasures. If they really clashed head-on, it would not be so easy to deal with. The Sword Edge region master and the others were strong, but the evil god army wasn't weak either. After breaking several formation eyes, cracks began to appear on the shield. It was obvious that if he continued like this, he would be able to break it. However, as soon as the crack appeared, the crack on the barrier quickly healed again. It was quite fast. Then, evil emperor's angry face appeared in front of him. He glared at him and said, "I didn't expect you to be a good divine carver master." Not long after he left, he sensed that the shield was slightly damaged. So, he came back quickly. This area was within his sensing range, so he would know immediately if there was even the slightest movement. This was also the reason why he felt at ease when he left. But not long after he left, Lee Tianyun tore open a small crack, allowing him to quickly return. When he saw evil emperor return, Lee Tianyun thought that he might not be able to tear it apart, so he snuck out. "I think it's just SOSO. What? You're not going to keep chasing?" Lee Tianyun looked at evil emperor mockingly. "I think I should suppress you first." Evil emperor waved his hand, and the barrier around him stopped moving. Then it gradually disappeared. Lee Tianyun watched in shock as the shield faded away. He had never imagined that the vile emperor would need to put it away before entering. No wonder the evil emperor hadn't charged in to suppress him. It turned out that he had to first close the barrier before he could enter. This kind of protection seemed to be a bit of a scam. It was no wonder that he had sent so many experts over. It was an all-around blockade. Who knew that by the time he arrived, he had already slipped away? Seems like this is my chance. Lee Tianyun's eyes narrowed. He had thought that he would have to fight, or self-destruct and play dead. Now, it seemed like there was no need for that. He just needed to find an opportunity to use the teleportation god stone. Then, he quickly flew inside and hid beside the door. He held the teleportation god stone tightly in his hand, ready to escape. Once the barrier was gone, he would immediately use the teleportation god stone. "Let's see where you can run this time." Evil Emperor's eyes were cold. He stared at Lee Dong-yun, who was hiding in the corner, and said coldly, "There's no point in hiding." Evil Emperor stretched out his hand to grab Lee Tianyun. He wanted to completely seal off Lee Tianyun's escape route. But it was too late. When the barrier was completely sealed, Lee Tianyun had already used the teleportation god stone. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. The huge void hand ruthlessly slammed into the rubble, and with a boom, countless rubble was smashed into powder. What's going on? Is he hiding inside? Evil Emperor found that his attack had failed. Lee Tianyun was not in the area he had been in. He frowned and quickly chased after him. When he entered, he found that all the doors had been destroyed. His heart sank. He quickly flew inside. When he saw the situation inside, his mood instantly plummeted. How is this possible? There are so many doors and so many seals. Even a 9th grade God inscription master can't destroy them so quickly. I haven't been here for long. Evil Emperor was about to go crazy. He flew inside and circled around. He found that all the god seals had been destroyed. Some of them had been destroyed by brute force. But most of them had been destroyed by normal means. No matter how they had been destroyed, he only needed to know that they had all been destroyed. All of them had been destroyed. Not a single heaven creator was left. They had all disappeared without a trace. He was dumbfounded. He had come at a leisurely pace because he was very confident in his defenses. There were a total of 14 doors and all sorts of small seals. Even if he were to destroy them, he would need a very long time. Let alone coming over, even if he flew over slowly, the other party would not be able to destroy them all. In reality, Evil Emperor had not been very slow. The total time he had taken was not more than half a day. This was including the time he had spent gathering the evil god army. He had probably taken less than a few hours to get here. He could not have left the heaven creators too far away. Hence, it would not have taken him a long time to get here. Who knew that things would still happen? All the heaven creators had been rescued. Not a single one was left. Apart from that, Lee Tianyun was nowhere to be seen. He had hidden somewhere. Where are you hiding? Is there any concealment technique in this world that I can't recognize? Evil Emperor frantically attacked in all directions. Pitch-black palm prints covered the area in front of him. The surroundings were charred black. But no matter how he attacked, it was useless. Lee Tianyun naturally did not hide here. He had already used the teleportation divine stone to leave. After he attacked every corner, Evil Emperor completely understood. Lee Tianyun had escaped. He was not here. He did not know what method Lee Tianyun had used to escape so silently. But it was a fact that he had escaped right under his nose. He must have been taken away by those people. No wonder that brat kept trying to hold me back. Evil Emperor's gaze turned cold. He quickly turned and chased after him. He flew as fast as he could. Chapter 1695. Lee Tianyun didn't teleport back to the Three Realms God domain, but to the God domain outside of the Heaven Creator race. Before he came, he had already set up the corresponding coordinates. He wasn't in a hurry to return because he wanted to check on the Fecta domain lord and the others. Did they need his help? He was originally trapped, but now he was the most relaxed. It wasn't his style to leave immediately. No matter what, he had to confirm that the Fecta domain lord and the others had successfully escaped. That was the most important thing. When he went outside, he quickly concealed himself in the void. He was very confident in his 5 dragon divine movement boots. As long as the evil emperor wasn't too close to him, he wouldn't be able to detect him. He quickly circled around to see if the Fecta domain lord and the others were still nearby. After circling around, he didn't find them in this area. This made him heave a sigh of relief. Looks like they've successfully escaped, Lee Tianyun nodded. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly felt a fluctuation coming from in front of him. When he looked up, he saw that it was the Fecta domain lord's spirit ship that was speeding towards him. Behind the Fecta domain ruler's spirit ship, there was a giant diabolical god hot on its heels. The other giant diabolical god had already been destroyed and turned into scattered diabolical spirit race beings that chased after them. However, their speed was much slower than the giant diabolical god. They still caught up? Lee Tianyun's heart sank. However, he quickly flew over to help them. The Fecta domain lord's spirit ship was flying towards the Heaven Creator God domain's territory. This made him puzzled. Even if they caught up, they shouldn't be flying in that direction, right? Could they have turned back to save me? Lee Tianyun couldn't help but speculate. If this was really the case, he would be very touched. Then he didn't think too much about it. He quickly flew over and intercepted the spirit ship. Fecta domain lord, it's me. Tianyun's sudden appearance at the side of the spirit ship caused the Fecta domain ruler, who was controlling the ship, to be startled. But he reacted just as quickly and directly sucked Tianyun into the spirit ship. Tianyun domain lord, you are not trapped in there? The Fecta domain lord and the others looked at Tianyun in shock. Tianyun smiled and said, I didn't expect the barrier to have such a big hole. If the evil emperor wants to come in and capture me, he'll have to activate the barrier. That way, I would be able to use a secret technique to slip away. I didn't expect to run into you guys. What's going on? He quickly noticed the situation here. Among the several region lords, one person was missing. That person was Region Lord Yuelong. Region Lord Yuelong was not here. This meant that it was very likely that he had escaped. The Sky Creators have already been taken away by Region Lord Yuelong. When they catch up to us, we will fight it out with them and then secretly let Region Lord Yuelong escape. Now we are rushing back to rescue you. I didn't expect you to escape already. This is really unexpected. They looked at Tianyun with surprise. Originally, they felt a bit guilty when they escaped. However, after settling down, they immediately returned. This made Tianyun feel very touched. It seemed that they were very reliable allies. They would not leave anyone behind. I can only say that the evil emperor's arrangements are a bit inappropriate. Let's not talk about this. Let's take this opportunity to escape. The evil emperor is about to catch up. The evil emperor should know that we have rescued the Sky Creators. When that time comes, he will definitely kill us. Tianyun said in a low voice. Good. Let's escape with all our strength now. The Fecta domain lord nodded. He immediately increased the power of the transparent spirit ship to the maximum. Then he quickly fled outside. You are here and you still want to leave? The evil emperor's angry roar enveloped the world. At some unknown time, the evil emperor had fused with the evil god army. He had transformed into an incomparably huge evil spirits. However, the face of this evil spirits was his own face. Since he was the leader, his appearance was naturally based on him. He was originally a heaven-defying heavenly god. Now that he had fused with the incomparably huge evil spirits, his power was at its peak. He waved his hand and grabbed at them. The huge pressure made the faces of the domain lords darken. Even the sword-edged domain lord, who was also a late-stage upper celestial god, felt the immense pressure. It had to be said that the evil emperor was really too strong. Sword-edged domain. Cloud-piercing void. The two tyrannical domain lords immediately used their strongest techniques to clash head-on with the evil emperor. Boom. The two tyrannical attacks collided with the evil emperor's attack. An earth-shattering energy explosion occurred. A moment later, the huge void hand grabbed their attacks and pulled them to the side, shattering them into pieces. You dare trespass on my territory with just this bit of power? Return the heaven creators to me. The evil emperor stretched out his hand and continued to grab at them. With the power of the evil god army, his power had increased greatly. It was no wonder that he had brought so many evil god army soldiers. It turned out that he had prepared them to cooperate with him. He didn't want them to act alone. If they worked together, the evil emperor's power would increase greatly. He could even break the joint attack of the two domain lords. This level of power was really frightening. The evil emperor and the evil god army are too strong. Let's hurry and retreat. The Cloudpiercer domain lord and the others didn't stop attacking. They erupted with their power again. The Fecta domain lord kept activating the Fecta divine fan and deducing the next step of the plan. Tianyun could only watch in the face of this power. The great array controlled by the evil emperor might be the true evil spirits. 1 against 2, but he wasn't at a disadvantage. He smashed them to pieces with a single palm strike. No wonder they didn't want to face the evil emperor. This power was too abnormal. The Fecta domain lord steered the spirit ship and quickly dodged the evil emperor's attack. With the help of the Fecta divine fan, he could just barely deduce the next step of the plan. However, that was all. The evil emperor's cultivation was too high. He couldn't deduce too much. At most, he could only use it to dodge. After dodging several times, The evil emperor was still in hot pursuit. The interference of the two domain lords was quite limited. They couldn't stop the evil emperor's pursuit. If this continued, they wouldn't be able to escape easily. They would only be chased until they died. The evil emperor couldn't let them go. The sky creators had been captured. He couldn't let them go no matter what. In terms of endurance, the evil emperor was undoubtedly superior. With so many heavenly gods supporting him, the Fecta Domain Lord's side would definitely be the first to collapse. Fecta Domain Lord, is there no way to escape? The Sword Point Domain Lord kept resisting. He couldn't help but complain in the face of the evil emperor's powerful pressure. They had now witnessed the evil emperor's true power. It was too terrifying. Moreover, it didn't seem like the evil emperor's ultimate power. Chapter 1696. The Fecta Domain Master and the others were anxious. If they continued to resist like this, it would only become more and more dangerous. Even if they could delay for some time, it wasn't a solution unless they escaped to a place where they could resist the evil sovereign. But they didn't have much time to prepare. If they dragged the evil sovereign into their own forces, wouldn't they be finished? This was the fusion of so many Empyrean divinities. Even if they were scattered, they could suppress many influences. Moreover, they would be finished before they even reached their own forces. I have an idea, but I'm afraid we have to abandon this spirit ship. Lee Tianyun said solemnly. It's just a spirit ship. It's fine. When the time comes, we can detonate it as long as we can escape. The Fecta Domain Master was domineering. In truth, even if they were poor, they were willing to pay this price as long as they could escape. After all, if they lost their lives, what use would this spirit ship have? That's fine. Cloudpiercer Domain Master and Sword Edge Domain Master, hide in my space. Lee Tianyun indicated for them to hide in his living ring. They didn't think much of it and immediately hid inside. They didn't doubt Lee Tianyun's words at all. In particular, Cloudpiercer Domain Master. Before, he didn't trust Lee Tianyun, but now he viewed Lee Tianyun as his own brother. In battle, he could even trust his back to him. Following that, Tianyun looked at the Fecta Domain Master and said, "Now it's your turn. Come in a bit further away." "No problem. Let's erupt with all our strength." The Fecta Domain Master chuckled and controlled the spirit ship to erupt with its greatest power. The entire spirit ship's surface bloomed with dazzling white light and its speed increased by several times. In this situation, it was undoubtedly a state of exhaustion. As this continued, the damage to the spirit ship would become increasingly severe. Eventually, it would truly become a transparent spirit ship. You still want to escape? When the evil sovereign saw the spirit ship erupt with its greatest speed, he thought they were making a final struggle and also increased his speed to catch up. However, the Fecta Domain Lord's speed of control was undoubtedly a little faster. The Fecta Protectorate Lord immediately entered Lee Tianyun's living space. Lee Tianyun also immediately used the teleportation god stone and disappeared on the spot. At this time, the spirit ship continued to rapidly fly forwards. After flying for some distance, it began to slow down. Then, it started shining with red light, and when Evil Emperor got close to it, it suddenly exploded and turned into a powerful bomb. Boom! A violent explosion spread out, and even Evil Emperor was forced back a distance. The entire alliance formation nearly fell apart. Self-destruct? Evil Emperor was stunned. Even if he could not escape, there was no need for him to do this, right? If he chose to self-destruct, wouldn't the Domain Master inside be injured? After the explosion dispersed, not even a shadow could be seen, let alone a corpse. There was nothing in front of them. Where is he? Evil Emperor rushed over and looked around. Forget about seeing anyone, he didn't even have any presence. He stared at this side. If anyone escaped, he would definitely know. But he couldn't sense the slightest aura, not even a trace of aura, which made him completely dumbfounded. So many Domain Masters had disappeared just like how Lee Tianyun had disappeared in front of him. Did they all use some mysterious secret technique to escape? Evil Emperor's expression was extremely ugly. Not a single Domain Master was left alive, and the Sky Creators had been rescued. This made him want to die. Previously, Huan Mingyue had been captured, and now the Sky Creators were gone. How was he supposed to play? The 5 Great Blacklists? They really are the 5 Great Blacklists. Evil Emperor clenched his fists, and his eyes were extremely cold. I didn't want to act so soon. Are you forcing me to act now? The reason why they weren't in a hurry to act was definitely because they had slowly made arrangements and made a foolproof plan. Especially a bunch of old farts. They didn't know where they were hiding, and that was what they were most afraid of. If it was just the strength on the surface, they would have long since killed their way over. They wanted to find the evil spirits and resurrect the evil spirits before killing their way over. They didn't want to repeat the same mistake. The taste of failure wasn't pleasant. Hence, they still didn't choose to act against the seemingly powerful factions. They had too many things to worry about. Evil Emperor stood where he was for a while, and finally shook his head. Fortunately, we don't really need them anymore. Although it messed up the plan a little, it's still acceptable. I'll let you live a little longer. When the time comes, I'll let you know that no matter where you hide, it's meaningless. Evil Emperor finally left with his subordinates. They had returned without any achievements, and they had definitely suffered a setback. In another region, Tianyun escaped with them to another region, and then let them out. Originally, he could have brought them back to Yuelong's celestial domain to wait, but after thinking about it, he decided to take a look around first. Perhaps they had arranged for Yuelong's celestial domain master to hide somewhere. We've successfully escaped, Tianyun said. That's true. We escaped so easily. This region seems to be quite far away. I wonder what kind of mystical secret technique this is. It must have consumed a lot of energy, right? Even a normal escape talisman wouldn't be able to escape so easily. Fecta Domain Master was very interested in this, and he didn't know what kind of treasure Tianyun had used. Tianyun said with a smile, "Indeed, it consumed a lot of energy. It's a secret technique used to save one's life. Although it consumed a lot of energy, it's still acceptable for us to escape." Thank you, Tianyun Domain Master, we were able to escape so easily. Cloud-piercing Domain Master and the others breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they had Tianyun with them, or else they would have been dead. Yes, it's true that Tianyun Domain Master can create miracles easily, and it seems that it's true. Sword Edge Domain Master laughed. He had always been very interested in Tianyun, and now it seemed that he was really interesting and magical. He had a special secret technique that allowed them to escape easily. Although they didn't know what kind of secret technique he used, they thought that it must have consumed a lot of energy. It's just the. By the way, where is Yuelong's Celestial Domain Master? Did she go back, or is she hiding somewhere? Tianyun asked. Yes, she is hiding. Let's go find her now. Sure enough, as Tianyun thought, Yuelong's Celestial Domain Master was still hiding, and she didn't directly run back to Yuelong's Celestial Domain. In fact, hiding was the safest way to escape, because if they ran around, they would be easily discovered. Of course, the premise was to find a good place to hide. If they were too obvious, it would be tantamount to suicide. Chapter 1697. After finding Region Lord Yuelong, they left and headed towards the Three Realms Divine Realm. After some consideration, they decided that it would be safest for the Heaven Creators to hide in the Three Realms Divine Realm. The Three Realms Divine Realm was protected by a barrier. The Fecta Divine Realm was very safe and mysterious. But it was not invincible. They would find them one day, especially since the Heaven Creators were so important. If they were placed in the Fecta Divine Realm, it might attract more trouble. Hence, choosing to hide in the Three Realms Divine Realm was the best outcome. The Fecta Domain Lord quickly took out a spirit ship and continued to fly towards the Three Realms Divine Realm. It had to be said that the Fecta Domain Lord had too many treasures. The spirit ship he took out was not inferior to the previous one. Following that, Region Lord Yuelong released all the Heaven Creators to let them take a breather. Then, he told them about their successful escape. The Heaven Creators were extremely grateful when they found out. They had no objections to the arrangement to hide in the Three Realms Divine Realm. As long as they could hide, they would be eternally grateful. It wasn't that they were afraid of death. Rather, they wanted to hide and recuperate for a period of time before ruthlessly retaliating. Tianyun naturally had no objections. Nothing could be better than staying in the three realms' divine realm. Since they were living under someone else's roof, they would definitely pass on some benefits. Perhaps they could even help build something. When that happened, wouldn't his forces increase? Thank you, young friend, for your rescue. Our clansmen don't know how to thank you. Our current situation is quite bad. We can't afford to pay you anything. One of the older elders stood up. He was called Elder Lientian. As their representative, he thanked Tianyun. That's too much. If the heaven creators hadn't built the crystal barrier, our world would have fallen long ago, Tianyun said with a smile. The crystal barrier wasn't built by the heaven creators. We had the help of a powerhouse. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to build it. Elder Lientian shook his head. The crystal barrier wasn't built by the heaven creators? Rumor has it that you were the ones who created it. The Fecta Domain Lord and the others were very puzzled. That was the rumor. No, we didn't actually build it. According to the records, a god emperor built it with us. Elder Ripple Heaven revealed an explosive piece of information. What? The god emperor was built on the same block? They were all shocked. Didn't they say that no god emperor has ever appeared? Of course, it's impossible for them not to have appeared. If they hadn't appeared, who would know that there would be a god emperor later on? The Fecta Domain Lord maintained a calm expression, but Tianyun could sense the anger in his heart. He looked calm, but when he attacked, he was more ruthless than anyone else. Otherwise, he would not have been blacklisted. I am very sorry. I just wanted to see the other members of our race. Elder Lientian was very embarrassed. He did not expect to be asked such a sad question. It's all right, we all feel the same way, the Fecta Domain Lord said. Elder Lientian nodded and looked at them. We have been imprisoned for a long time and have not been able to see the light of day. They have also kidnapped many of our race members and forcibly controlled us. Although it is very difficult to control us, it does not mean that we are not controlled. There will always be a portion of our race members who have been forcibly controlled. In the years that we have been imprisoned, the only thing we know is that the evil spirit race is extremely powerful. They are much more powerful than the ones who invaded us a long time ago. We do not know what they are plotting now, so you must be careful. They had been imprisoned, so the information they knew was very limited. They could only warn the Fecta Domain Lord with these few sentences. Indeed, the evil emperor is very powerful, and he has many heavenly gods under his command. However, they are not in a hurry to act. Perhaps they are afraid of some hidden experts, but I think they have some other plans, the Fecta Domain Lord guessed. Yes, we think so too. We have destroyed countless evil spirit race branches over and over again, but they have not sent out a large number of experts. How strange. Chapter 1698. They were not sure what the evil emperor would do. Unless they infiltrated to understand, they would not know. Tianyun had the chance to investigate deeper, but he had already been seen through, so he could not use the evil spirit puppet. As for changing his appearance, that was a good idea. As an evil spirit puppet, he could change anything he wanted, and he did not have to worry about any problems. However, if he changed it, he would have to start from scratch. He had climbed to a certain position with great difficulty, but he had to give it up. It could only be said that he had no choice. He could either give up on the fantasy moon or choose the evil spirit puppet. Tianyun thought about it. It was undoubtedly more important to choose the fantasy moon. This was similar to the current heaven-creating race. If he saved the heaven-creating race and snatched the fantasy moon, their support would basically be cut off. He could only wait for the crack to appear, so that he could continue to receive strong support. However, without the help of the heaven-creating race or the fantasy moon, the evil spirit race powerhouses would not be able to come over. Those who could come over easily were the weaker evil spirit race, so there would not be many powerful evil spirit race powerhouses coming over. This way, there would not be any powerhouses that could make up for the number of powerhouses that the evil spirit race had killed. No one knows what the evil emperor is doing. However, it seems that it is necessary for us to gather and form an alliance. Tianyun suggested, I have always formed an alliance with many divine territories. Currently, most of the forces in the divine territories are in a state of disunity. It is mainly because of mutual distrust and the infiltration of the evil spirit race, which has led to some hostility between us. However, I can help you solve this. I can find out if there are any evil spirit race hiding in your territory. I only hope that everyone can form an alliance and form the largest force. Only by uniting can we resist the evil emperor's fierce attack. Tianyun's tone was firm. He felt that only by forming an alliance could they deal with the evil spirit race. When he saw the two evil god armies, he knew how weak a single force was against the evil spirit race. If it wasn't for the fact that the evil emperor was plotting something or was afraid of something, the factions would have been destroyed one by one, and they would have been easily destroyed. On the surface, there were 30 heavenly gods in the two evil god armies, and that did not include those that had not been exposed. They weren't present at the previous banquet. Tianyun did not know how many powerful martial artists evil emperor had cultivated, but if they did not work together to fight against him, they would definitely die. Once the heretical emperor no longer feared anything, it would be the day they perished. Your aura really reminds me of the divine spirit race from a long time ago. The divine spirit race has this kind of spirit, but that powerful leader gathered us together. Elder Lien Tian's eyes flickered as he recalled a battlefield from a long time ago. He had seen the leader of the divine spirit race commanding them in battle. I agree with Lord Tianyun on this point. Our Yuelong celestial realm has already formed an alliance with the three realms celestial realm. Lord Tianyun can also help us discover the hidden traitor of the evil spirit race. If we don't work together, we won't be able to deal with the evil emperor. Regent Lord Yuelong's expression was solemn. Our Fecta divine realm has already formed an alliance with the heavenly cloud divine realm. Our Jianfeng god domain has just formed an alliance. The fact that 3 celestial realms had formed an alliance with Tianyun surprised the cloud-piercing realm lord, but it was reasonable. Then I will also choose to form an alliance with you. I think there will be many benefits if we can form an alliance with the heavenly cloud divine realm, the cloud-piercing realm lord said with a smile. After witnessing Tianyun's strength, he decided to form an alliance with him. I am very honored that everyone is willing to form an alliance with my forces. However, I am afraid that just the few of us are not enough. Tianyun looked at them and said solemnly, after all, the evil emperor is too powerful. We only have a few forces, but there are more than a dozen forces in the 3 realms, and none of them are weak. If we can work together, we might have a chance of winning. Lord Tianyun, you mean to form an alliance? Fecta Domain Lord asked. Yes, just like Elder Lien Tian said, we should lead all the forces to resist the evil emperor like the leader of the divine spirit race. Otherwise, facing the evil emperor's terrifying power, we will still be defeated. Tianyun said solemnly, I know that it will be difficult to form an alliance, but we still have to give it a try. As for the spies, I will investigate them one by one and find all the evil spirit race members. In this regard, I am sure that no one can surpass me. I can testify to this. The heavenly cloud divine realm lord can sense the aura of the evil spirit race, no matter how subtle it is. There are many spies in our Yuelong celestial realm. If it weren't for the heavenly cloud divine realm lord, we wouldn't have been able to find them, Yuelong domain lord testified. The cloud-piercing realm lord and the others nodded at each other. They believed in Yuelong domain lord's words. Of course, they had all seen Tianyun's strength, so they didn't think that he was lying. This is feasible, but it is a bit difficult. However, if we don't do this, we will be easily defeated by the evil emperor alone, the Fecta domain lord said with a smile. I agree with this point. I have thought about it before, but there has been no leader, so it is not easy to carry out the plan. Now that we have a leader, it will be much easier to carry out the plan. Leader? Tianyun turned to look at them and asked in puzzlement, Who will be the leader? The domain lords looked at each other and smiled. Then they all looked at him. The meaning in their eyes was self-evident. I am the leader? Lee Dun-yun was stunned, and then he said awkwardly, don't joke about this. My cultivation is much weaker than all of you, and my forces are also much weaker. How can I be the leader? Isn't this a joke? Or, I don't believe in the masses at all. Indeed, in terms of forces and cultivation, you are not as strong as us. However, the territory you are in and the conditions you have can make you the leader. The Fecta domain lord pointed at him and said, being the heir of the divine spirit race is one of the reasons. Also, saving the sky creator race is basically your credit. Also, being the guardian of the evil spirit's pearl is another reason. Our support is another reason. With so many reasons, who can refuse? The Fecta domain lord didn't hesitate to say that Lee Tianyun was the guardian of the evil spirit's pearl in front of them. It was possible that they already knew that the Fecta domain lord was the guardian of the evil spirit's pearl. Then, they were extremely trustworthy people, so they naturally told the truth. That is true, but my cultivation is too weak. I don't think it is suitable. It might be better to let the Fecta domain lord be the leader. Lee Tianyun recommended the Fecta domain lord for this position. Chapter 1699. It wasn't that Lee Tianyun didn't want to do anything. It was just that the situation wasn't right, so he didn't dare to act recklessly. Everything had to be based on his own situation. If he forced things, it would be hard to convince the masses. That would be a very bad thing for the management in the future. For example, if he sent other factions to do something, they would obey on the surface, but their efficiency would be very low behind the scenes. It was clearly meaningless. How would you know if you don't try? Moreover, we think that your cultivation can improve further. Breaking through to a higher level won't be a problem. With our support, nothing will be a problem. The Fecta domain lord patted his shoulder and smiled. There's no need to say more. We've decided on you. They don't know your level, but we do. You're the most suitable person to manage. As for me managing, do you think that's possible? It's fine if my two daughters manage, but if I do it, I think this alliance will collapse in less than a year. The Fecta domain lord snickered. This old man loved to study all kinds of things. He didn't care about management at all. Therefore, it was all done by the elders. This was a true hands-off boss. Then Jianfeng domain lord. Jianfeng domain lord should be fine, right? Lee Tianyun looked at the Jianfeng domain lord. That guy is a sword fanatic. He's about the same as me. What do you think? The Fecta domain lord snickered. Can Yuelong domain lord do it? Lee Dun-yun said helplessly. Yuelong domain lord is a female cultivator. Although I admire her a lot, looking at the big picture, she's not suitable to be the alliance leader. She can be the deputy alliance leader, but it's basically impossible for her to be the alliance leader. Forcing her to be the alliance leader will be several times more difficult than letting you be the alliance leader. The Fecta domain lord shook her head and refuted Lee Tianyun one by one. Yuelong domain lord knew her situation. She definitely couldn't do it. Men had always been superior to women. She couldn't be the alliance leader. This was also her helplessness. No matter how good a manager was, they could only choose to compromise when faced with stubborn people. Unless she broke through to become a god emperor, then everyone would obey her. But if he really became a god emperor, then there would be no alliance, and there would be no evil spirit race. Then Cloudpiercer Region Master. Cloudpiercer Region Master should be fine, right? Lee Tianyun turned to look at Cloudpiercer Region Master. Cloudpiercer Region Master's personality is rather straightforward, and his temper isn't very good. He often explodes at the slightest disagreement. If he becomes the Alliance Master, he'll probably kick out anyone he doesn't like. The Sword Edge Region Master glanced at them from the side and exposed their shortcomings. The Cloudpiercer Region Master was a little embarrassed, but that was just how he was. His temper was really fiery. Especially in the face of some unfamiliar people, it was even easier to explode. Previously, when he saw how weak Lee Tianyun's cultivation was, he still brought him along. If he hadn't seen the Sword Edge Region Master and the others pushing him, he would have started cursing. After all, to bring an Empyrean over for such a difficult mission, wasn't that the behavior of a fool? Fortunately, the Fecta Domain Lord and the others who were familiar with him had recommended him. Otherwise, he would have flown into a rage. Tianyun reached out and slapped himself on the head. This meant that all the region masters present were problematic. None of them were suitable to be the Alliance Master. Was he really qualified? This one can make Elder Liantian the Alliance Master. The prestige of the Sky Creators goes without saying, right? In the end, Tianyun didn't give up and shifted his attention to Elder Liantian. Young friend, I can hear what you're talking about. Just this alone makes it even more impossible for me. The Sky Creators have declined. Even if we have some ability, we have no prestige. We don't even have our own home. How can we expect others to obey our orders? Elder Liantian shook his head. Back then, the most powerful race had fallen to such a state. It was truly a pity. Maybe the other forces have better region masters who can manage it better than me. Tianyun didn't give up and shifted his attention to other divine regions. If there's one other divine region, it's the Divine Medicine Temple. Just like the Fecta Divine Region, they're very secretive. It won't be easy to rope them in. The Sword Edge Region Master thought for a moment. I don't even want to join those stubborn old fogies of the Divine Medicine Temple. They're all terrifyingly stubborn. It's not interesting at all. The Fecta Region Master shook his head and looked at Tianyun. Stop nagging like a sissy. Am I nagging? Region Master Yuelong stared coldly at the Fecta Region Master. The Fecta Region Master's breath caught in his throat. He scratched his head awkwardly and immediately corrected himself. Region Master Yuelong, that's not what I meant. Kid, stop nagging and be more responsible. Since you're the one who suggested it, you should be the Alliance Master. That's right, you're the one. We all agree. They unanimously agreed that Tianyun was the Alliance Master. When Tianyun saw that they all supported him, he sighed deeply and said, "All right, but it won't be easy for me to manage it. You must all assist me." Isn't that a given? Time is of the essence. Once this matter is over, we'll immediately form alliances with the other forces and rope them in. The Sword Edge Region Master said with a smile. They all nodded. Time was of the essence. Who knew when the evil emperor would attack? Hence, the sooner the better. In the remaining time, they discussed the details of the situation. For example, they discussed which divine region master Yuelong should summon. The Sword Edge Region Master's side also discussed which forces to summon. In particular, gathering some forces with decent strength and trustworthy strength was the most important thing. Soon, they arrived at the divine realm of the three realms. Tianyun began to make arrangements for the heaven creators and let them choose a suitable planet to live on. The other region masters immediately went to work and didn't linger. They had a lot of things to do, and they would do it without delay. Tianyun waited here. He didn't know many forces and didn't interact with the other region masters like they did. Hence, it was easier for them to communicate with each other. The evil emperor's plot. Tianyun wondered if he should modify the evil spirit puppet and sneak in again. Suddenly, he remembered that the purple demon might be a very good breakthrough point. The purple demon is an existence that they value very much. After making it into a puppet, I can sneak in and learn more. Tianyun's eyes lit up. Chapter 1700. Tianyun immediately took out the purple evil spirit's materials and started to fuse them together. Very quickly, a purple evil spirit appeared in front of him. This purple evil spirit's cultivation was the same as the one he had killed. They were all at the lower level of the Lord of Heaven. The purple evil spirit that he had killed originally had this cultivation, so it was only natural that it would have this cultivation. My cultivation is a little low. Let's try smashing the evil spirit race's materials and see if I can level up. Tianyun immediately took out a pile of materials and smashed them. After smashing them in, the purple evil spirit's cultivation rose crazily. It jumped 3 times in a row and broke through 3 levels in one go. This was just a small material, and it wasn't even a heavenly god-level material. It was good to have a low cultivation. With just a little Empyrean or Divine Lord-level material, it would be able to soar up. It's working! Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. Although the purple evil spirit's cultivation was low, it still had a high status. However, if its cultivation was a little higher, it would undoubtedly have more power. Then he smashed down again, and all sorts of materials entered the purple evil spirit's body. Very quickly, his cultivation broke through several great realms in one go, and finally stopped at the late-stage Divine Lord level. He did not increase his cultivation by too much. If his breakthrough was too high, it would be very strange. He didn't know what the rules were over there, but it was better to keep it a little secret. He would make plans after understanding the situation over there. It's about time, but I can send 2 puppets over. This way, it's safe and we can help each other. But the evil spirit's pearl, if it's discovered, it'll be troublesome. Onion slapped his head and scolded, "So stupid, can't I just get one more?" Yi Tianyun took out the evil spirit race's materials again. After piecing them together, he immediately pieced together an Empyrean-level evil spirit race. This could be considered the highest level of piecing together. Even if it fell from the evil spirit god's body, it could only be pieced together to this level. However, this was already very good. After smashing the materials, his cultivation crazily soared, and in the end, he stopped at the lower heavenly god stage. It's a pity that puppets aren't one of my forces. Otherwise, this mission would have been easily completed. Eonyun looked at the puppet in front of him. If this could be counted, these missions could be completed easily. However, the mission would not be so easy for him to complete. He still needed to cultivate talents honestly so that they could become a part of him. It's about time. We can move out now. Yi Tianyun brought the 2 puppets and a teleportation divine level stone to the area of the evil spirit race's branch. Then he disappeared, not hiding inside the evil spirit race's body, but directly returning to the 3 realms divine realm. He wasn't going to stay inside. If he was discovered, he might be trapped. Previously, in the evil spirit puppets, it was mainly because of the evil spirit's orb. In addition, the road ahead had not been explored much. For now, he only needed to know the information. There was no need to take any risks. Therefore, it was enough to send out 2 puppets. He could control them from afar. In any case, in the 3 realms divine realm, it was as if he was there, and he could easily sense the detailed situation over there. After sending it out, he let the evil spirit puppet bring the purple evil spirit back to the branch. When they arrived at the entrance, the guards inside all came out. When they saw the 2 of them, one of the guards immediately said respectfully, "Greetings, Lord Purple Spirit." Lord Purple Spirit? When Yi Tianyun saw how respectful they were, he became interested. To actually call him Lord Purple Spirit, it seemed like his status was quite high. The purple evil spirit's cultivation was only at the Divine Lord level, and the guards were all at the Sky Sovereign level or above. Even so, they were still respectful to him, which was enough to prove the problem. I've never seen this Lord Purple Spirit before. What's going on? After the guard paid his respects, he realized that he had never seen the purple evil spirit before. You don't need to know that. Yi Tianyun controlled the other evil spirit race and waved his hand, indicating for them to move aside. We still have important matters to discuss with Lord Evil Emperor. There's no need to explain this to you. The guards immediately obeyed and moved to the side. They didn't have any doubts in their hearts, nor did they dare to question anything. Whether it was his aura or his bloodline, he was truly from the evil spirit race. At most, he didn't know where he was hiding or strolling around. In essence, as long as he was from the evil spirit race, it would be fine. After they entered, they directly flew to the area where the evil emperor was. Yi Tianyun just needed to find the evil emperor. It was simple and crude, and then he just needed to stuff all of the purple evil spirit into his hands. At that time, whatever the evil emperor did, he would do. When they arrived at the evil emperor's palace, they were immediately intercepted by guards. However, when they saw the purple evil spirit, they were all extremely respectful. We want to pay our respects to Lord Evil Emperor. Lee Dong-yun came over and said, "Please wait a moment, we will go inform Lord Evil Emperor now." The guards immediately went to inform the Evil Emperor. No matter who came in, they had to be notified first before they could enter. No one was more important than the Evil Emperor, so they had to be notified. "Let them in." A voice sounded out in their minds. "Yes, Lord Evil Emperor." The guards immediately let them in. It was obvious that the Evil Emperor had noticed the situation here. Lee Tianyun calmed down. Even if he was seen through, it would be the two puppets' problem and he would not be harmed. It was just that if the plan failed, it would not be a good thing. When they arrived at the palace, the Evil Emperor stared at the two puppets. After sizing them up for a moment, he said slowly, "Strange, why haven't I seen you before?" The Evil Emperor was naturally looking at the purple evil spirit. The normal evil spirit puppets beside them were completely ignored. The main reason was that the purple evil spirit was too rare. It was very easy to remember them, and their weight was also very heavy. As for the heavenly god-level evil spirits, there were simply too many of them, so it was normal that he did not know about them. "Greetings, Lord Evil Emperor. When I passed through the crystal barrier, I was captured for a long time and was constantly being studied. I was originally in despair, but I did not expect that my companions would come to my rescue and rescue me." Lee Tianyun controlled the purple evil spirit to make up an excuse. "You were captured for a long time, no wonder." The Evil Emperor touched his chin and looked at him and said, "You were lucky to be able to survive. I wonder which faction captured you?" Jianfeng's celestial territory. Lee Tianyun directly revealed Jianfeng's celestial territory. Since they were all blacklisted, he would just casually say one. "It really is that guy." The Evil Emperor slapped the chair and coldly snorted, "Forget it, go and prepare a little. There are still many things waiting for you to do. As for your meritorious rescue, you can go and receive your reward." The Evil Emperor waved his hand, indicating for the normal evil spirit puppets to leave. He did not even bother to ask for their names. The difference in status was really big. Chapter 1701. Lee Tianyun controlled the two evil spirit puppets and went about their own business. However, he didn't need to pay much attention to the ordinary evil spirit puppets anymore. After all, only the purple evil spirit puppets were meaningful. The ordinary evil spirit puppets could only stay at the periphery. "Come with me." The Evil Emperor stood up and gestured for the purple evil spirit puppets to follow him. Lee Tianyun followed him. He didn't know where the Evil Emperor was taking him. In any case, he wasn't worried that anything would happen. The Evil Emperor had been certain that they were on his side from the beginning. He didn't even suspect that the evil spirit race that had rebelled at the beginning was a puppet. This was too realistic. He could only think that there was some reason that had caused them to rebel. As for what the reason was, he couldn't think of anything. At most, they would only do such a thing because they thought that they were being controlled. It wasn't strange for the evil spirit race to be controlled. It was difficult, but it didn't mean that it was impossible. Under the Evil Emperor's lead, Lee Tianyun followed into the depths of the tower. They didn't go up, but down. After taking a few turns, they arrived at an empty room. They brought one with them and stepped into the teleportation formation. They didn't expect that there would be a hidden teleportation formation in the depths of the tower. Very soon, a pitch-black energy surged out of the teleportation formation and enveloped them. It had some sort of identification function. As long as they weren't from the evil spirit race, they could be identified. This was also why they could set up the teleportation formation outside. Only the evil spirit race could take it, so they didn't have to worry about being teleported over. In the blink of an eye, Lee Tianyun felt that he had arrived in another space. He had just appeared when he smelled a thick stench of blood. When he looked up, what he saw was simply a scene from Azura Hell. There was a prison in front of them, and every cage held a heaven creator. There was a purple evil spirit in front of every heaven creator clan member. They were constantly unleashing spiritual attacks to interfere with the heaven creator clan members' condition in an attempt to control them. When Tianyun had created the purple evil spirit, he had sensed the difference. Apart from its appearance, the purple evil spirit's main purpose was to attack with mental energy. It could form a type of interference that affected the opponent's state. The sky creators were hard to control, but that didn't mean they couldn't be controlled. They just needed some time. The purple evil spirit bore this kind of responsibility, continuously disturbing them. At the same time, after going through all kinds of torment, it could speed up the control. Tianyun followed along the way. There were both men and women of the Heaven Creators clan locked up in the cages, with the majority being female cultivators. They wanted to completely control the female cultivators of the Heaven Creating clan so that they could reproduce and give birth to the next generation. As one's cultivation increased, as long as they were unwilling, they would not be able to reproduce. Otherwise, they would have nurtured many generations of such people. How cruel! Tianyun saw that many members of the heaven-creating race were being whipped, and their bodies were already drenched in blood. The smell of blood in the air came from here. It smelled disgusting. Not only that, but the purple evil spirit was also constantly emitting ear-piercing noises to disturb the heaven creators, exerting double pressure on them. Soon, Tianyun was assigned to one of the cages. The one he had to deal with was a female cultivator. No wonder there were fewer female cultivators of the Heaven Creators clan that were rescued. It was obvious that most of them had been captured and brought here. The evil emperor suddenly grabbed his head and sent a wave of power into him, searching him in all directions. Relax, don't struggle. Tianyun naturally did not struggle and allowed the evil emperor to do as he pleased. As for his memories, he only put some of them in, leaving the rest blank. After a while, the evil emperor let go and asked curiously, "Blank. What's going on?" "They are trying to control me and are constantly using soul attacks on me, causing my memories to disappear. I can only remember a few things." Tianyun had already thought of an excuse. Otherwise, he would not be able to fill in the blanks. If there was a rebellion, there might be a second one. To prevent such a situation from happening, the evil emperor would still be careful and search through his memories. "It seems like they still have the ability to control my clan." The evil emperor frowned and thought for a while before saying, "Familiarize yourself with her. If you have any problems, tell the others. You will be in charge of her. If you can control her, I will reward you handsomely." "Understood, Your Majesty." Tianyun pretended to be very respectful as he shouted. The evil emperor did not find any signs of being controlled from the purple evil spirit's body or memories. Naturally, he could only leave. After he left, Tianyun heaved a sigh of relief. He was still worried that he would be slapped to death. That would be too much of a waste. Fortunately, the evil emperor did not think too much about it and allowed the purple evil spirit to continue existing. Then, he turned to look at the heaven creators in front of him. She was firmly pinned to the wall. Be it her feet or hands, they were all bound by sturdy metal chains. She could not move at all. When he looked at her, he could see the resentment in her eyes. If he untied the metal chains, he believed that the heaven creators would tear him to pieces without hesitation. Tianyun ignored her and did not explain anything. It would be a waste of breath to explain with his current appearance. No matter what, the other party would not believe him. He had come in to check out the situation here. He wanted to know how to sneak in, how to escape, and how the situation was in other areas. He followed him out of the prison cell and slowly walked over to check out the situation here in detail. After walking one round, he had a rough idea of the situation. There were a total of 30 heaven creators trapped here. Among them, there were fewer purple evil spirits. There were only about 8 or 9 of them, which was not considered a lot. It was no wonder that the purple evil spirits were so precious. The heaven creators were already difficult to control. With so few purple evil spirits, it was even more difficult to control them. In particular, the cultivation of the purple evil spirits was on the lower side, so it was more difficult to control them. Hence, there were other evil spirits beside them to assist them. They would attack them or torture them. His divine lord cultivation was considered rather high in this place. As for the exit, there was only one. the teleportation formation. This meant that if they wanted to escape, they had to go through this formation. However, there was another way. He had to know the coordinates of this place. As long as he knew the coordinates of this place, he could attack from the outside and rescue them. The teleportation formation only sent him to another area. It might not be where the evil spirit race was, but it could also be in some corner. Hence, knowing the coordinates was very important. However, there was no way of knowing his situation. Chapter 1702. If he wanted to know the coordinates, the simplest and most violent way was to break through the wall and sense it from the outside. Then he would immediately know the coordinates. However, this was a little too difficult for the purple evil spirits at their current stage. If the heaven creators came to help, things would be much easier. Putting everything else aside, just the member of the Sky Creator clan that he was in charge of was a lower heavenly god. Asking her to help was a very good choice. However, if he really let her out, the purple evil spirits would be the first to die. They would be crushed to death immediately. How could they find the coordinates then? As for the other methods, they were equally difficult. The best way was to let the purple evil spirits out and let Tianyun enter the space in his body, then rescue them one by one. If he did that, the risk would be extremely high. Through his observations, the difficulty of escaping here was no less than the area where the heaven creators were imprisoned. In particular, the evil emperor was closer. If he really sneaked in to rescue them, he would definitely not be able to escape. The teleportation god stone could not ignore everything and escape. In order to preserve his life, this method was undoubtedly very unsuitable. Itanyun did not dare to joke around with his life. If he was trapped here, he would definitely die. This reminded him of when he rescued the heaven creators. He could break through the thick barrier, but if the evil emperor was beside him, it would be difficult to do so. At that time, the gap between the two of them would immediately become apparent. If it weren't for the design of the shield, he would have been caught. This time, they were still in the inner area. As long as he did not escape, he would not be able to use the teleportation god stone. It was easy to enter, but it would be fatal if he left. In no time, all the escape exits would be locked down. He had been led in by the evil emperor the entire time, and not by the other guards. This was a huge problem. The evil emperor was in complete control. This meant that even if he wanted to leave, he would need the evil emperor's permission to use the teleportation formation. Fortunately, the evil emperor is not overseeing there. Otherwise, I really would not be able to rescue them. Tianyun shook his head. He knew that it was not only to imprison the heaven creators, but also to use them as bait. The evil emperor was completely confident that he could trap the invaders inside, which was why he had set this up. Unfortunately, his opponent was Tianyun, which shattered his confidence. If the evil emperor was guarding the place, they would be completely confident. This was the case. Tianyun felt a bit of a headache. He couldn't break out of this area and successfully escape with them. This was much more difficult than before. He could walk around freely here, and no one would care what he was doing. What are you looking at? If you have the ability, stab me with your knife and finish me off. The male cultivator looked at him coldly and said in a threatening tone, "What's there to look at? Do you think you can untie me? Come on if you have the guts. Stop whining. You're all a bunch of people who are worse than beasts." Along the way, just as he was about to take a closer look at the situation of the chains, they all started to twist their bodies and shake the chains in their hands. At the same time, they roared angrily. It seemed like a very normal action, but in Tianyun's eyes, they seemed to be hiding something. Indeed, after checking for a while, he noticed a slight change. The divine seal on the chains had loosened slightly. He didn't expect them to be able to undo the divine seal on their own even though they were trapped here. Their abilities were really shocking. Tianyun grinned. He already understood what was going on. However, in the eyes of the heaven creators, this smile was a smile that meant that they were doomed. They exchanged glances and hoped that Tianyun would notice. Chapter 1703. After Yi Tianyun became aware of this, he didn't point it out. Instead, he came to the side of the female cultivator and whispered, "I've already seen the traces of you trying to break the chains." The female cultivator's pupils shrank. She didn't think that such a subtle trace could be detected. They had already broken the chains in a very subtle way. Unless it was a very high-grade divine inscription master, it would be impossible to detect it. These purple evil spirits in front of her were all idiots. The level of their divine inscription masters was definitely not high. Looking around, all of them had low cultivations. Although there were high-grade divine inscription masters with low cultivations, if their cultivation wasn't high, then it was impossible for them to be high-grade divine inscription masters. But just like this, their plan had been seen through. The female cultivator's eyes revealed a bit of despair. If they were discovered and the evil emperor reported this to them, then there would be no hope for them to escape. All of their efforts would have been wasted. Don't panic, we're on the same side. Don't look at me as a purple evil spirit. The truth is that I'm not a purple evil spirit, but a puppet. You can't see that I'm a puppet, but if you could, then the evil emperor would have definitely seen through it. Yi Tianyun said to her with a sound transmission. This was to prevent his voice from leaking out and being heard by other purple evil spirits. The female cultivator was startled. She looked up and down at Yi Tianyun. She really didn't believe what Yi Tianyun said. In her opinion, he was just trying to trick her. It's normal that you don't believe me. Under normal circumstances, you would definitely explain this matter to the evil emperor. I definitely won't say anything. Not only will I not say anything, but I will also cover for you to destroy the god seal here. Yi Tianyun continued to say, but after you break the seal, don't kill me. You can kill the rest so that I can help you. The female cultivator had a very complex look in her eyes. Her eyes were filled with disbelief, but she also believed a little. If this was a plan, then it was a relatively stupid plan. Deceiving them into trusting him was far from enough. Unless they completely left this place, then perhaps they would believe him a little. But the evil emperor already knew why he had captured them. Thus, there was no need to try and trick them. It doesn't matter if you believe me or not. I'll pretend to control you later. You just have to respond a little. Yi Tianyun began to put on an act of releasing his mental power. In fact, he was just slightly enveloping the area around him so that the purple evil spirit could sense it. The female cultivator also felt it, but could only pretend to twist her body and show a painful expression, pretending that she was really trying to control herself. She might not believe it, but she felt that it was worth a try. In any case, there was no harm in giving it a try. It was better than reporting it to the higher-ups. That would be the real end. Yi Tianyun observed the situation around him, and at the same time, he felt that the timing was really good. It just so happened that he had found a very good entry point. Coordinating from the inside and outside was undoubtedly the best way. In this way, it would take some time for him to force his way in. He might as well cause a ruckus outside and perhaps cause some disturbance here. Then, the heaven-creating race rushed out from inside and quickly escaped while the evil spirit race's attention was not on them. This was a very good plan at the moment, at least there was a slight chance. If the evil emperor wasn't here, it would be even more perfect. Looks like I have to arrange for more spies to come in. Yi Tianyun, who was staying in the Three Realms God realm, immediately started to create a few evil spirit puppets. Their cultivation levels were all at the heavenly venerable level. Their cultivation levels did not need to be too high, just the heavenly venerable level was enough. This way, their status in the evil spirit race would not be so low that they could not act. At the same time, if he wanted to do something, these puppets could be put to use. The internal chaos was a very good point. Anyway, they were puppets. It did not matter if they died. In an instant, he launched a two-pronged plan. What made him feel that it was a pity was that the purple evil spirit puppets could not find out more information. They had come in to control the heaven-creating race. Although this was indeed a big matter, he had thought that he would be able to find out more secrets. Now, it seemed like he had thought too much. The evil emperor would not let his other subordinates know more secrets, or rather, they did not have the right to participate. Unless he was an elder-level existence, Perhaps he would have the right to participate with the evil emperor. The purple evil spirit puppets were precious because they were proficient in mind control. The rest could only be considered ordinary. However, just this alone was already an extremely high status. This was similar to the occupation of cultivators. Regardless of whether it was blacksmiths or alchemists, their status was much higher than that of ordinary cultivators. No matter what, being able to find out about the heaven-creating race's capture was already a very good reward. If he rescued this batch of heaven-creating race members, it would undoubtedly make the heaven-creating race even more loyal to him. Perhaps they might even join his side. With a good favorable impression, he would definitely be able to complete the main mission. While the two sides were starting, the progress on Yi Tianyun's side was not slow either. The Fecta Domain Lord and the others were swift and decisive, and they did as they said. They immediately gathered a group of domain lords and rushed over. The rank 4 and rank 5 god realms were all gathered, and they were all trustworthy domain lords. As for the other god realms, there was no way to call them over. Some preferred to be independent and did not like to interact with other forces, so he could not be bothered to ask them. They all came to the god realm of the 3 realms. When they first arrived, they were still filled with curiosity. This was a god realm that had been deified in the outside world. It had a special shield and a very mysterious power. However, when they entered, they realized that the overall strength of this place was a little weak. After all, the people who came were all domain lords, and even the weakest was a lower heavenly god. Not to mention ancient heavenly gods, even heavenly gods were very strong. Those who could become domain lords could not be weak. Hence, they were able to investigate the overall situation of this place very easily. Seeing their disappointed expressions, Yi Tianyun was not at all surprised. Perhaps because this place was too deified, they thought that it was very strong. Who knew that it was actually very weak, even weaker than an average rank 4 god realm? With a smile on his face, Yi Tianyun watched as they walked into the hall one by one. There were not many people, a total of 6 domain lords. If Domain Lord Yuelong and the others were included, there would be a total of 10 domain lords. Among them, there were 4 rank 5 god realms, and 6 rank 4 god realms. 10 domain lords already made up half of the forces in the god realm. Although it was not all, it was already very shocking. If they could form an alliance, it would be enough to form a very cohesive force to fight against the heretical emperor and the others. At the very least, they would not be in such a sorry state. Chapter 1704. Of the 10 area rulers, only 5 had met Yi Tianyun before. The rest had never met him before. As for the 5th person, that was the area ruler of heaven cultivation, he had no doubt chosen to support Yi Tianyun. There was no doubt about that. Yi Tianyun's status in the realm of heaven cultivation was obvious to all. Furthermore, he was the disciple of the great Devis. That was enough for the area ruler to support him unconditionally. Thus, it was 50-50. Half supported Yi Tianyun, while the other half were observing Yi Tianyun. Is this the area ruler of Heavenly Cloud that you all recommended as the alliance leader? One of the area rulers, Miao Yun, looked at Yi Tianyun from head to toe and frowned. His cultivation is a bit too low. As the alliance leader, his cultivation is too low. I think so too. If his cultivation is too low, he won't be able to convince the masses. Let's not talk about prestige for now. Just based on cultivation alone, let alone us area rulers, even the elders under us would be against it. Domain Lord Jian Feng, what you said before is not like this. You said that the area ruler of Heavenly Cloud was very powerful, but I don't see anything wrong with that. The 5 area rulers all maintained a skeptical attitude. Just based on cultivation alone, it was impossible to convince the masses. This was human nature. Using cultivation as a measure could save a lot of trouble. It was like a master. If the master's cultivation and skills were not as good as his own, then what kind of master was he? Faced with this kind of doubt, Shi Shuiyun discussed on the side how to resolve this matter and convince them to choose. I know that there is a lot of debate about this one becoming the alliance leader, especially in terms of cultivation. However, even if my cultivation meets the requirements, there will be all kinds of disputes. This is just one of them. Lee Tianyun looked at them with a serious expression. When it was time to talk about serious matters, he was very strict. The 5 area rulers nodded. Cultivation was just one of the criteria. If the alliance leader only had to have a high cultivation, then there was no need to continue the election. They could just pick the strongest one. The so-called leader of the alliance needed to be the backbone of the alliance. His prestige couldn't be low, and his ability couldn't be weak. Only when all aspects were combined could one become the leader of the alliance. Otherwise, it would be difficult for anyone to convince the masses. Actually, I didn't really want to become the alliance leader, but Chuan Yun and the others strongly recommended me, so I had no choice but to become the alliance leader. Lee Tianyun shrugged helplessly, but immediately changed his tone. Since they are willing to trust me, I naturally won't let them down. As long as you have questions, I will answer them one by one. First of all, in terms of cultivation, other than Upper Heavenly God, the rest of the heavenly gods are not my match. Unless they are very powerful ancient heavenly gods, none of them are my match. Lee Tianyun raised a finger, indicating that he was solving the first problem. You must be bluffing. You're just an upper-level Empyrean, yet you're able to fight against a middle-level Empyrean. Isn't this a little too exaggerated? If that's true, when you break through to the heavenly god level, won't you go to the heavens? One of the domain masters stood out to express his disbelief. The other 4 domain masters didn't believe him, and their good impression of Lee Tianyun dropped significantly. Only the 5 domain masters were smiling, and none of them stood out to say anything. Some things were seen with one's own eyes, and there was no meaning in just talking about it. Yes, when I break through to the heavenly god level, I will definitely go to the heavens, and now I can also go to the heavens. Lee Tianyun pointed at him and said with a faint smile, "If you don't believe me, this domain master, your cultivation just so happens to be a middle-level Empyrean, I wonder if you can fight me? Only by fighting will we know how strong you are." Alright. That domain master stood out and said solemnly, "Then let's fight. If I lose, I will apologize for my actions just now." Choosing an alliance leader is not child's play. Even if there are other domain masters recommending you, I still need to personally evaluate you. Following that, this domain master stood out and summoned his heavenly god spiritual treasure, preparing to fight with Lee Tianyun. Soon, this place was immediately divided into a territory for them to fight. Since you're a guest, it's not good to go too far. Our cultivation is so different, I'll let you attack me 3 times. If I can't accept it, it'll be my loss. How about it? Lee Tianyun proposed a condition. They were not enemies, so there was no need to fight so hard, so it was fine to just have a little bit of a spar. Sure, the difference between our cultivation is so big, to be honest, if we fight like this, I'll lose face. The opponent was Domain Master Baichi, and he was considered a highly respected Domain Master, so he had to be cautious. Although Domain Master Jian and the others strongly recommended him, and even used his integrity as a guarantee, he had to be responsible for his own divine domain, so even if he had to lose face, he had to personally test it. It's coming. Domain Master Baichi didn't hold back. After all, when facing enemies on the battlefield, if the alliance leader didn't lead correctly, it would bring about countless deaths. This was not something that could be casually afforded. Yin also summoned his celestial spiritual treasure, and with 3 celestial spiritual treasures, he immediately mobilized his own strength. Boom! A strength that was many times stronger than before was released from his body. However, he was not attacking, but defending, so his main attack was still defense. Compared to defensive power, he needed to activate the Dragon and Phoenix divine veins, and the effect was almost at the maximum, as if he had turned into an indestructible rock. Domain Master Baichi's attack just happened to arrive, and it turned into a sharp sword, piercing through Lee Tianyun. Ding. Accompanied by a crisp sound, Lee Tianyun didn't move, but Domain Master Baichi was bounced back, and after spinning a few rounds in the air, he steadily landed on the ground. Not bad, I've used 30% of my strength, and you can still be so relaxed. It seems that I have underestimated you. Domain Master Baichi laughed. Then, it's the second move. Domain Master Baichi used 60% of his strength for the second move, and the power was greatly increased, but it was still the same move, and there were no changes. It seemed that Domain Master Baichi was very straightforward, and he didn't use any tricky moves. As long as Yi Tianyun could block his move, he would admit defeat, and he wouldn't say anything else. The second move was bombarded, and Yi Tianyun steadily received it, and the Five Dragons' divine spear in his hand collided with Domain Master Baichi's. Boom! Yi Tianyun was slightly pushed back a few steps, and Domain Master Baichi was also sent flying. Both of them were sent flying at the same time, which meant that it was a tie. However, the loser was still Domain Master Baichi. After all, Yi Tianyun only needed to defend and not win against Domain Master Baichi. Very good. Chapter 1705. The fact that Yi Tianyun was able to withstand two moves easily impressed the other four domain lords. They had scoffed at this before, for they didn't believe that someone could be so powerful when there was such a huge gap between their cultivation levels. Now it seemed that they were completely wrong. There really was such a heaven-defying existence. Using his own strength to fight against a divine realm intermediate realm god, how could they not be shocked? Although the third move had not been used yet, in their opinion, they had already acknowledged what Yi Tianyun had said before. If he could break through to the divine realm, he would really be able to go to heaven. Next is the third move. As long as you can completely withstand this move, it will be your victory. Otherwise, it will be my loss. Domain Lord Baichi's aura rose sharply again, and his strength increased a lot. This time, he didn't dare to use all his strength, but at least 80 to 90% of it. Naturally, Domain Lord Baichi wouldn't use all his strength and would only use most of it. After all, Yi Tianyun was defending, and it would be too much to use all his strength. Okay, no problem. Yi Tianyun nodded, holding the Five Dragons' spear tightly, and was ready to go all out. He had never really fought against a domain lord, especially a head-on attack. He had always focused on sneak attacks, so that even if there was a gap between their cultivation levels, he could still win. In a real battle of life and death, sometimes the gap in cultivation could be made up for with skills. In particular, one's own ability was very important. All kinds of martial arts could make up for some of the gaps in cultivation. Of course, if there was a huge gap in cultivation, it would be a joke. After all, no matter how amazing a martial art was, it was useless in the face of absolute power. For example, Yi Tianyun's teleportation was good at sneak attacks. He could suddenly appear behind the enemy, but the enemy's cultivation was too strong. Even if it was only for a moment, the enemy had already made a counterattack. Then, Domain Lord Baichi attacked fiercely after Yi Tianyun was ready. The move didn't change, and it was still the same move. Such a stubborn attitude, however, made the other domain lords feel deep respect. This was a matter of face and also a matter of attitude. It was originally a test of Yi Tianyun's strength, to see if he had reached the corresponding level and not to kill him. After all, Yi Tianyun was highly recommended by the Sword Edge Region Master and the others. No matter what, they had to give him some face. He's here. The same move, but with different might, bombarded over once more. Although the moves were the same, the power was different. It was as if he had been given a brand new power. He smashed down from the sky and collided with Yi Tianyun, who was as sturdy as a boulder. Five Dragons roar. Yi Tianyun didn't show any signs of weakness either. Following that, he unleashed an extremely powerful force, and when he slammed into each other, a violent explosion erupted between the two of them, forming a terrifying energy tornado that whistled out in all directions. The Sword Edge Region Master and the others were already prepared. Everyone waved their weapons and easily deflected the force, preventing the palace from being damaged. No matter what, this was a discussion hall, and there was a corresponding protective divine seal. However, it could not easily withstand this power. Therefore, he still had to help remove it, or else this place would definitely collapse. The violent explosion shook the entire planet, and many cultivators could clearly feel the vibration. Those who didn't know the situation thought it was an earthquake. After a while, the explosion finally stopped. When the energy of the explosion dissipated, what they saw was Yi Tianyun standing steadily, his body retreating hundreds of meters, and a long mark in front of him. Yi Tianyun didn't have many injuries on his body, and most of the power was absorbed by the thick dragon scales on his body and the power of the void. It didn't seem to be a big problem, and it could be said that he was almost unharmed. Domain Master Baichi naturally wouldn't have any problems. Yi Tianyun mainly focused on defense, and even if he attacked, he would focus on protecting himself. Therefore, there wouldn't be any problems, and his body was intact. You win. Domain Master Baichi looked at him and laughed. Just as the Sword Edge Region Master said, the Tianyun Region Master is indeed a genius of the generation, and you are better than all of us old guys. No wonder in such a short time, you killed your way from the outer celestial realm to the inner celestial realm, and even defeated the evil emperor. The other domain masters also nodded. After seeing Yi Tianyun's power, they all recognized that Yi Tianyun was quite strong. Maybe there was still a gap between him and them, but this gap would be greatly shortened or even surpassed after his cultivation breakthrough. Deep down, they were still shocked as they finally saw the power of someone who was a level higher than him. But they always felt that it wasn't a level higher than him, but more like he was hiding his strength, and his real strength was probably above the divine realm. No matter which one it was, for them, as long as his comprehensive strength was up to the standard, it would be fine. I am still far away from you, seniors, Yi Tianyun said modestly. You don't have to be modest about this. We agree that your strength is enough to convince us. Domain Master Baichi stepped back, showing that he agreed with Yi Tianyun. However, as soon as Domain Master Baichi stepped back, Domain Master Yunsha walked out. Although his name was a little feminine, he walked out like a man. We all agree with your cultivation and strength. But as the Alliance Master, you need to manage all aspects. Are you qualified? Domain Master Yunsha asked. Since his strength was qualified, naturally, it would be his turn to manage. If he couldn't manage, then he would be messing around. To be honest, my level is average, but with the help of Domain Master Jianfeng and many of my generals, I think I can manage them perfectly. The question is whether they are willing to be managed by us, Yunsha said. Yi Tianyun thought for a moment and said with a smile, this point, in fact, can't be proved by words. I'll find a time to let my capable generals go over and have a spar with all of you. Wouldn't that make things clear? Many of his godly generals were very capable, and after a long period of training, they were already prepared. Okay, it's useless to talk about this. Let's find a time to simulate the attack of two camps, and then we'll see if the Tianyun Domain Master's generals can easily break it. Domain Master Yunsha nodded and didn't make it difficult for Yi Tianyun. She also agreed with Yi Tianyun's method. It was meaningless to say more, and they would see on the battlefield. After Domain Master Yunsha stepped back, another Domain Master came up. This time, it was Domain Master Miaoyun's turn, and she was also a man. In fact, among the 10 Domain Masters, only Domain Master Yuelong was a female cultivator, and the rest were all men. No matter how feminine their names were, they were all men. Chapter 1706. Domain Master Miao Yun thought for a moment before saying, Domain Master Tianyun, if you want to be the Alliance Master, you must first have some achievements. I wonder if you have done anything to convince everyone in this regard? I have it now. Isn't it enough to save the Sky Creator clan and humiliate the evil emperor? Yi Tianyun retorted casually. These two things were difficult to achieve, but they succeeded with Yi Tianyun's help. Perhaps the Sword Edge Domain Master and the others contributed to saving the Sky Creator clan, but the real credit belonged to Yi Tianyun. What did they see when they saw that shocking speed of destruction? Even if the Sky Creator clan was not saved by Yi Tianyun, just humiliating the evil emperor was enough to convince everyone. How many region lords were able to accomplish such a feat? It could be said that Yi Tianyun was the first one to humiliate the evil emperor. The Sword Edge Domain Master and the others were blacklisted, but they were only blacklisted because they destroyed the evil spirit clan's major branches. Therefore, it could only be said that the evil spirit clans suffered some damage, but it was far from humiliating the evil emperor. After all, they did not even touch the evil emperor. No matter how their subordinates died, they were just a bunch of ants. If they died, they died. Lee Tianyun was the one who truly humiliated the evil emperor. Not only did he steal the princess, but he also stole the Sky Creator clan. If the evil emperor wanted to kill someone the most, it would definitely be Lee Tianyun. The other 4 people on the blacklist added up could not even compare to one of Lee Tianyun's fingers. That was what he meant by hate the evil emperor to the bone. Messing up the evil emperor's plan, and his cultivation was not particularly heaven-defying. This made him grit his teeth. Moreover, in terms of safety, who can compare to my god realm of the 3 realms? When the time comes, as a safe central area, we can transfer the injured or important cultivators here during the battle. Who can touch it? Lee Tianyun listed out his advantages. Just being a safe area was enough to be a highlight. Of course, if he wasn't the Alliance Master, he wouldn't have the right to speak. Basically, this place would be forcefully expropriated. If he was the leader of the Alliance, he would be able to command them where to go, and he would be able to control them. The few domain lords looked at each other. They really couldn't think of anything to refute Lee Tianyun's words. After all, this bit of advantage was really a huge advantage. Making the evil emperor suffer a loss made the forces that had been persecuted by the evil spirit race feel a sense of satisfaction. This was enough to convince many disciples and elders of Lee Tianyun. If this isn't enough, I will soon have a new plan, and that is a plan to make evil emperor suffer. Lee Tianyun smiled and looked at them. We can even trick the evil emperor? What kind of plan is that? They stretched out their necks, wishing to know what kind of plan it was. This has to be kept a secret. After all, whether we can succeed or not is another matter. When the time comes, you will know. Lee Tianyun looked at them and said with a smile, "Before that, I can help you to clean up the internal spies. Of course, if you have full confidence in yourselves and guarantee that there are no spies, then forget what I said." Domain Lord Baichi thought for a moment and was the first to stand out. I don't know what plan Tianyun Domain Lord is talking about, but I am very happy to see that it can make evil emperor suffer. As for whether it will succeed or not, I have already decided to let Tianyun Domain Lord become the Alliance Master. Me too. Me too. One by one, the Domain Lord stood out and chose to support Lee Tianyun. Even if there were 1 or 2 who didn't support him, it didn't matter anymore. As long as there were more than 6 or 7 people supporting Lee Tianyun, the rest would have to follow the majority unless they chose to withdraw. As for the plan to eliminate the spies, we are very happy to let Tianyun Domain Lord have a look. Speaking of which, I have always felt that there has been a leak. Every time we go out, some teams will disappear, and it is very likely that they have been captured or killed by the evil spirit race. Of course, I will not let Tianyun Domain Lord come here for nothing. After the matter is over, I will give Tianyun Domain Lord a certain amount of compensation. Domain Lord Baichi also chose to be the first to try, asking Lee Tianyun to help identify the spies. He also directly called Lee Tianyun Domain Lord as the Alliance Master. Although he didn't call all the elders or anything like that, since their Domain Lord had already made the decision, it was easy to negotiate with the elders. I also want to invite Tianyun Domain Lord to come to my god domain, and the compensation is also negotiable. One by one, they stood out, worried that they wouldn't have a chance. They all knew the general situation from Domain Lord Yuelong, and they didn't think that there were no spies in their god domain. Yuelong god domain was strict enough, but there were still many spies in their god domain. It should be said that they were controlled and then turned into spies. They didn't think that there were no spies, and in order to feel more at ease, they all wanted to invite Lee Tianyun to check it out. Even if it was just to spend some treasures, they still wanted to invite Lee Tianyun to check it out. No problem, it's very simple. Lee Tianyun smiled and he didn't have any problem with this. Especially now that it had been negotiated, his position as the Alliance Master was stable. Of course, this was just a verbal promise, and there was still a lot of work to be done, such as the competition of divine generals, which needed to be done. Chapter 1707. Just a little bit more and we'll be able to destroy this divine seal. Let's hurry up and destroy it before the vile emperor arrives. Tianyun transmitted his voice to heavenly goddess Yuji. The vile emperor seems to be in seclusion right now, so he probably hasn't discovered what's going on here. The vile emperor is in seclusion? How do you know when you haven't even left? Heavenly goddess Yuji was perplexed. Don't worry about that. It's a piece of information that I received from my spies outside. Tianyun replied, all you need to do is hurry up and destroy this seal. I'll take all of you out when the time comes. However, it looks like we'll need some time before we can break out of this place. Have you found the reinforcements? Heavenly goddess Yuji asked. My true body will be here with a group of area lords. They'll only come when it's about time. When the vile emperor isn't here, that will be the best time for us to strike. Tianyun spoke with a solemn expression. If the vile emperor is here, it'll be very difficult for us to succeed. After all, he has complete control over this area, so it won't be easy for us to escape. Heavenly goddess Yuji nodded. She was well aware that the vile emperor was the god of this place. Being able to control everything here meant that he was the master. If he wasn't here, most of the spell formations here would be ineffective. The vile emperor was very domineering. Or rather, all members of the evil spirit tribe were like this. They wanted to control everything and only give a small portion to others. For example, the teleportation spell formation here could only be brought in by him. Other elders couldn't be brought in. Unless they destroyed the teleportation spell formation, they wouldn't be able to enter or leave. The same was true for some of the killing formations outside. They were all controlled by the vile emperor, and without his control, they wouldn't be able to unleash most of their power. This was the effect of absolute power, but the vile emperor wanted to do this. He wanted to monopolize all of the power for himself. However, there was a benefit to this. If the vile emperor left this place or went into seclusion, then this place would lose its effect. As such, even if heavenly goddess Yuji and the others destroyed the divine seal, they still had to pretend that they were imprisoned here. He had to wait for the evil emperor to leave before he chose to flee. That way it would be safer. As soon as they finished speaking, a figure walked in. Upon closer inspection, it was the vile emperor, whom they hadn't seen for many days. They did not expect that evil emperor would come over to patrol the area. Now they held their breaths. They were worried that evil emperor would see through their plan, and they were also worried that Tianyun would tell on them. Although Tianyun's words were somewhat believable, it didn't mean that they were completely trustworthy. Perhaps he was just trying to make a contribution. When evil emperor came, he would choose to tell them. This time, their hearts were in their throats. Tianyun didn't know what they were thinking, but he was also very nervous. If heavenly goddess Yuji and the others were discovered, then everything would be for naught. The evil emperor did not pay attention to them. He continued to inspect them, and when he saw that they were all working hard to control the heaven creators, he was very satisfied. Which one of you will be able to control it soon? Evil emperor asked casually. Most of the purple evil spirits could only shake their heads and reply that they could not do so for now. The heaven creators were not so easy to control. If they could be controlled easily, they would have done so long ago. Why would there be so many of them locked up in cages? What a bunch of useless trash. You're too slow. We've provided so many resources and spent so many resources to get you here just for this kind of reply? Evil Emperor spoke in a cold voice. Hurry up. We don't have much time left. Yes, Your Majesty. They could only nod in response. They continued onward with the evil emperor. He couldn't even be bothered to check out the places where the purple evil spirits were. Instead, he went directly to the empty cages. Heavenly Goddess Yuji and the others' hearts were about to leap out of their throats. The evil emperor was different from the other purple evil spirits. He was quite proficient in the field of divine seals, so there was a very good chance that he would be able to see through them. Evil Emperor arrived at one of the cages, and his brows furrowed as if he had discovered something. Just as he was about to take a closer look, Hinun suddenly yelled, "Your Majesty, I'm about to successfully control them." Tianyun kept releasing his spiritual power towards Heavenly Goddess Yuji. Heavenly Goddess Yuji was stunned for a moment, then she struggled and turned her head with a painful expression, as if she was really controlled by Tianyun. Really? The evil emperor quickly turned toward Tianyun and inspected Heavenly Goddess Yuji's condition. How much more do I have before I can completely control them? He wasn't the one controlling Heavenly Goddess Yuji's body, so he couldn't completely sense what was going on within Heavenly Goddess Yuji's body. So, I should be able to succeed in a few years or a dozen years. Tianyun gave a rough estimate of how long it would take. You're telling me this is soon? The evil emperor harumphed coldly. However, the time is still acceptable, so hurry up. Also, the next time you report the time to me, don't tell me if it's not within a month, understand? Even though a few years wasn't a long time, the evil emperor felt like it was a very long time. I understand, Your Majesty. Tianyun yelled as he continued to control Heavenly Goddess Yuji. The evil emperor continued to inspect the cages, but he still followed the same path. It looked like he really did have to inspect the cages one by one. After ensuring that there were no interruptions, he would switch to the next one or not inspect them at all. The evil emperor was quite meticulous and wanted to inspect all of the cages in detail. It looked like he was going to be discovered soon. If he was discovered, he would be done for. Your Majesty! Tianyun yelled again. What is it now? The evil emperor was very displeased, and he turned to look at him. I made an error in judgment. I'll be able to control them in no more than 3 days. Tianyun gave an extremely short estimate. 3 days? The evil emperor hurried over with glowing eyes. Is that true? If there is any falsehood in my words, then please cut off my head and kick it like a ball. Tianyun said ruthlessly. 3 days? The evil emperor laughed heartily. All right, I'll go back and make some arrangements. I'll wait for your news. As long as you can complete it within a month, you'll have done a great service. The other purple evil spirits all looked at him with envy and jealousy. They all felt that Tianyun was really lucky to have chosen a Heaven Creator clan that was easy to control. They had been controlling them for so long, but they still couldn't completely control them. Tianyun had only been here for a short while, but he was already able to control them. He was really lucky. Thank you, Your Majesty. Tianyun expressed his gratitude. The evil emperor nodded and immediately turned to make preparations. It looked like even if he was controlled, he still had to make many arrangements before he could take over the Heaven Creator clan. Chapter 1708. Tianyun had successfully diverted their attention, but the problem was that the evil emperor had gone back to make preparations, which meant that they had to break through the seal within a month. Furthermore, they had to escape while the evil emperor was still here, which was going to be a lot more difficult. However, it was better than being discovered. Otherwise, they would be completely screwed. He was sure that the evil emperor would be able to tell that there was at least a 7th or 8th grade divine inscriber who had set up these divine seals. Under these circumstances, he would definitely be able to discover that there was at least a divine inscriber of the 7th or 8th stage. Of course, there was a chance that he wouldn't be able to discover anything, but he didn't dare to take that gamble. If he was discovered, then everything would be over, and he would be wasting his time. They still had a month to stall for time, so there was still a chance. He's finally gone. Can you break through the divine seals within a month? Tianyun quickly transmitted his voice to them. No problem, I can break through them within 2 weeks. I can break through them within a week or so. I can also break through them within a week or so. All of them transmitted their voices back to him, finally believing Tianyun's words. They believed that Tianyun wasn't lying and that he really was one of their own. They knew what it would be like to lie to the evil emperor. The evil emperor wouldn't lie to him as there was no point in doing so. Looks like you really are one of our own. Heavenly Goddess Yuji also believed in Tianyun's identity. No one from the evil spirit tribe would dare to do something like this. That's not the point. The point is that we have to figure out how to escape. We were planning to wait for the evil emperor to leave, but it looks like that's going to be difficult. Yi Tianyun's brows furrowed. In any case, hurry up and break through the seal. I'll set up everything outside. They nodded before continuing to break through the divine seals. Meanwhile, Yi Tianyun immediately summoned all of the area leaders, and he used the Alliance Leader Summoning Badge. With this Alliance Leader Summoning Badge, he could quickly gather all of the area leaders, and it was very useful. If he didn't use it at a critical moment, he would be cursed at. What's going on? One by one, the domain lords tore through the void and charged over. When they realized that nothing had happened, they were all stunned. Didn't I say that I wanted to make evil emperors suffer? Now, I'm doing it again. It's the plan to save the remaining heaven creators. Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice, I'm already inside the evil spirit tribe and I'm preparing to rescue the heaven creators. Let's head over quickly to provide support and create chaos outside. But this matter is still rather dangerous. At that time, we might have to fight head-on against evil emperor. If they didn't create some chaos, the slightest movement from the inside would immediately be discovered. Clearly, this wouldn't work. There had to be something wrong with the outside to attract the firepower. Only then would they be able to escape. Are you saying that the Alliance is going to fight against evil emperor? Cloud Vale Region Lord and the others looked at each other. They weren't ready for the battle, and the deaths would be tragic. Of course not, we're not ready yet. Instead, we're conducting an attack to prove ourselves. Only our group will be heading there, and the Heaven-Creating Clan will be participating as well. Just our group alone is enough. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. We're going there to save people, not to risk our lives. As long as we save the Heaven-Creating Clan, we'll retreat immediately. If we completely save the Heaven-Creating Clan, I believe you'll also receive their gratitude. At the same time, you'll be able to destroy the evil spirit tribe's plan to control the crystal barrier. Moreover, we also want to understand the evil spirit tribe's current strength. There was a group of Heaven-Creating Clan experts behind Yi Tianyun, and they were all heavenly gods. How could they not save their companions when they were in trouble? Yi Tianyun had specially selected the strongest group. Their overall strength was at the level of a middle heavenly god, and there were more than a dozen of them. More than a dozen middle heavenly gods, including the 10 region lords. Could they not even save this group of people with such terrifying combat power? In that case, aren't they afraid that evil emperor will really be forced into a corner and launch a full-scale attack? Region Lord Baichi frowned. Evil emperor won't do that. If he wanted to launch a full-scale attack, he would have done so a long time ago. He must have some misgivings or is preparing something. That's why he won't launch a full-scale attack so soon. Yi Tianyun was full of confidence. If he launched a full-scale attack, the Sword Edge Region Lord and the Cloud Region Lord would have been attacked long ago, right? That's right. The Sword Edge Region Lord and the Cloud Region Lord looked at each other and smiled. If they were really forced into a corner, they would have been killed long ago. These two on the blacklist often interfered with the evil spirit tribe and had eliminated countless evil spirit tribe members. Also, many of the evil god army had been killed. However, nothing had happened to them at all. The evil emperor had been enduring, and it was very likely that he had some misgivings. Hearing this, Domain Lord Baichi and the others felt that it made sense. Speaking of which, you have people in the evil spirit tribe? The evil spirit tribe will be tempted? Domain Lord Baichi and the others were very curious about this. They had wanted to do this for a long time. How could the evil spirit tribe do as they wished? No matter how they threatened or tempted them, it would be meaningless. Well, Yi Tianyun smiled at the Fecta Domain Lord. Fecta Domain Lord knows about this. Anyway, we are leaving now. Do you have any objections? The Fecta Domain Lord naturally knew what method he was using, but he didn't point it out. No objections. Since the Alliance leader has said so, we will naturally listen to him. They all nodded in agreement with what Yi Tianyun said. In fact, this was also related to the recent events. Yi Tianyun's capable subordinates had been compared to the generals they had sent. In the end, Yi Tianyun's side had won a great victory. Not all of them, but at least most of them had been won by Yi Tianyun's side. They had been speechless, and they truly believed in Yi Tianyun's power. Their cultivation levels were not bad, but they were not good at commanding. This was related to Yi Tianyun's training. Their cultivation levels had always been weaker, so they had to rely on techniques to win. As they slowly trained, their techniques would naturally improve. As such, they could not win in terms of cultivation levels, but they could win in terms of techniques. As for their opponents, their cultivation levels were high, but they lacked training, so their techniques were not very good. This made them want to die. There was a huge disparity in their cultivation levels, but they were unable to use their techniques here. How could they not be frustrated? However, they were competing in terms of commanding, not cultivation, so they had no choice but to accept their defeat. Soon after, they set off majestically. A large group of domain lords and a large group of experts headed towards the evil spirit race's headquarters. At the same time, Heavenly Goddess Yuji's divine seal was finally broken. In the instant that it was broken, they immediately rushed out and transformed into a tornado of slaughter. A bunch of purple evil spirits were reduced to a cloud of blood mist. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.